If you've ever played doctor by using a spent popsicle stick as a tongue depressor, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. TGIF, happy Friday. Got another big day coming here for the market. We just got the jobs data. We had Big Mama Apple reporting earnings last night. Lot to break down, multiple special guests. It's going to be a fun Friday, folks. Ooh, good alliteration there.
Welcome to Benzinga Live Trading.
Let's see if this actually kind of comes back.
Way out of control, got way too high.
All right. Hey, I will take that. I will absolutely take that.
All right. Hello and welcome, folks. Back to live trading. It is Friday. Let me go ahead and bring on my main man, 1313. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Just trying to wrap up, some notes on these movers here. We were having too much fun talking about other stuff, so I don't have a long list of movers, but there's going to be plenty of things going on here. We're going to have a good day. Let's get it started.
Indeed, we are. And I was trying to build up some suspense for the special guests, but Nick Brown went ahead and posted in the chat. So let's just bring him on. Nick, how you doing? Thanks for joining us this morning. Happy Friday.
Good morning. Happy Friday. It seems like I've been joining on jobs report. I look at my notes and I joined the last jobs report. So last month.
Well, whatever system you figured out to be able to get out of your school obligations to come hang with us on important news drop days, I will say you've done a marvelous job at that, and we all appreciate it. So let's keep that up.
Well, today's actually a free day off because we actually have prom tonight. So we get the day off anyways.
Ooh, okay. Well, enjoy tonight, Nick. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at the market. Nick, I do want to go over what that jobs print was and what it means and what you think of all of that. Let me very quickly bring up a chart of the SPY. We'll talk about where we are here. Yesterday, we talked about being kind of compressed in between the 20 and the 100-day. Well, yesterday's session, we actually broke out of that 20-day moving average. And now it looks like we're butting up against the 50-day moving average. In fact, the 50-day moving average value is 511.49. And the high print from SPY in the pre-market today after the jobs report was 511.51. So we literally traded above it by 1 cent. So it is definitely finding some resistance there. One of the first things that we're going to be looking at out of the open here is, are we able to take that out? Are we able to kind of move past it? Or does that serve as a resistance point? Because we've actually seen that recently too, right? Just yesterday, the SPY was a little stronger in the pre-market, but the top was right at the open, and then we sold off until we broke it later on in the day. So we'll see where we are here today with SPY 13. Before we get into the jobs report, did you have anything on the SPY chart or the SPY action from this morning?
Yeah, we had that the Apple earnings, and that drove the SPY up over that 20-day SMA. We weren't there intraday. That was only until we closed and got those Apple earnings did we end up getting over the 20-day SMA. So now we're bumping up against the 50, like you said. That's going to be a point of resistance, I think, because of the same way that Google and Microsoft and some of these other big Mag 7 names have reported and had really, really huge earnings and then ended up selling off there afterwards. We could end up seeing the same thing with Apple. So I'd be expecting a little bit more downside from Apple today at some point. Not sure if we're going to get that out of the open. I was never short Apple thinking about it. I actually own Apple right now. But I still want it lower because I want to add more. That's the only reason why I want it lower. Other than that, I think Apple will probably have to come back in a bit based on how much this move has gone up.
Yeah, I think the big question here today is, does Apple fade? And if it does fade, how much does it fade? And what kind of trades are available there? So I'm with you on that one. We will investigate that. Before we go any further, it is time to mention that the stream is sponsored by Trade the Pool. So if you need a prop firm or if you just need help getting above that 25K threshold, or you just simply need some more buying power, check out Trade the Pool. They're great guys and they can help you out with that stuff. I said there is some new stuff coming soon, so stay tuned for that. Okay, let's go ahead and Nick, do you want to talk about the jobs print here this morning?
Yeah, I was going to say, guys, this was a big miss. Non-farm payrolls for the month of April came in at 175,000. Estimate was for 240,000, and previously it was 303,000. Unemployment rate actually ticked up 0.1% to 3.9%. Consensus was for 3.8%. April average hourly earnings, this is the month over month, came in at 0.2. Estimate was for 0.3. And then average hourly earnings year over year came in at 3.9%, below expectations. Estimate was for 4%. Previously was 4.1%. So you can see this trickle down just a little bit here. Average weekly hours, all employees for April came in at 34.3. Estimate was for 34.4. And labor force participation rate came in at 62.7. Estimate was for 62.7. Now, the March payrolls was revised to 315,000. February was revised to 236,000. The private sector payrolls for the month of April came in at 167,000 and government payrolls plus 8,000. After this jobs report, tons of headlines come out from Bloomberg, watching the trade futures regarding the rate cuts. Fed funds futures actually raises the chance of a rate cut in September to 78%. After the jobs report, that was versus 63% just before. And traders actually pull forward the first Fed rate cut to September from November. And more headlines coming up basically saying Bitcoin actually rose above 60,000 once again after the jobs report. The volatility index hit a 1 month low after the jobs report. And then, of course, Fed whisperer Nick Timrose from the Wall Street Journal comes out with a report saying the April jobs report won't change much for the Fed because, one, there's another one before the next meeting. He says they're more focused on inflation data, and it doesn't show unexpected weakness, but it will certainly help ease fears about reacceleration overheating. Bespoke Invest actually had a stat out, guys, that I think is rather very interesting to report here, saying that within the past, I believe, 24 reports, they were only missing, jobs doesn't miss very often. And it goes on to say that according to Bespoke Invest, only 3 of the previous 24 months saw jobs miss. Today, make that 4 of 25.
Okay, good stat there, Nick. Appreciate you diving into that as well. So, I mean, again, the question is here is, do we take another leg up or is this the top? And I think that we're gonna figure that out here pretty soon. So really good stuff there. Let's go ahead and take a look at Apple. I know we kind of already talked about it, but this is probably the biggest mover from yesterday. We're also going to cover Rivian here. I know there's some new news on Rivian. We'll take a look at that as well. Here is the spot on Apple, and we'll see what Apple does here today. I know the question is, does it fade or does it not fade? What I'm looking at here is one of these channel trades, right? If we break 186 to the upside and we back test it, we have a potential long. We break down beneath 183 and back test it, we have a potential short here on Apple. So this is basically how I'm going to be looking at the day trade here. Long term, I still hold all my Apple shares long and strong on Apple for investment purposes. But for trading here, we'll see what we can put on here for today. Did anyone else have any 13? I know you covered Apple a little bit. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add, or should we take a look at some of the other stocks that are moving?
Just real quick, I can just tell you some levels. For upside, I think 188 might be where we end up going today if we see the upside. If we do break above that, I don't think we go any higher than 192. For downside, we have the 200-day SMA. That's at 181. And then we have the 180 level, which has been a previous support turned resistance level. Now turns support again. So I think 180 is also in play if we see some downside. So those are the levels I'm looking for both upside and downside.
Okay, sweet. So we'll see if we get a trade on that one. All right, next one here is going to be Rivian. There's a piece of news here this morning. Rivian shares trading higher after the company appointed Javier Varela, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, as Chief Operations Officer. So we got a COO switch here. We had Rivian pop yesterday in the afternoon. And then this morning on this news, we actually took out yesterday's intraday high. Rivian looks like this is going to trade up here today, at least so far, up 3.66% here in the pre-market. You folks have, I mean, Rivian still got its problems, right? This stock still loses $1 billion. This company still loses $1 billion a quarter. It looks like we are trying to kind of take out the 50-day moving average here on the daily chart. I've got that value at 1038. Stock's currently 1020. So you got any thoughts on Rivian for a potential trade here? Not my cup of tea. I don't really care much for Rivian. If I see a good short setup, I would take that on a potential pullback here. But just wondering what your thoughts are here on Rivian.
You're asking both of us or just me?
Whoever.
Well, it's looking like it's trying to get past its 50-day SMA right now. So that that level is at 1038 right now. So I guess if we can get past that, maybe get into the 1040s or higher, we would look to try to break through this consolidation that we've had all through April and March, kind of into February too. That consolidation there is a big demand zone that I'd be concerned about getting through. So we could see some resistance somewhere in there. So just some an area that I'd be a little bit worried about getting through. But if we get the volume, could chew right through that. Then there's an upside gap to fill between 1370 to about 1520, 1525. If we get the momentum to take us up there, then that gap could likely fill.
And that gap fill would also take us past the 100-day. That would be, if I tell you what, if we see that type of move over the next several sessions here, I think maybe the Mo or the trend in Rivian is officially changed. I'll say that. Let's see if we get to, let's not put the cart in front of the horse, if that's how the saying goes. I'm pretty sure it is. All right, let's go ahead and check on the movers tool and see what other types of gappers we have after we complete this. With whatever remaining time we have, we'll go ahead and take some stocks from the chat here and take a look at them. First one here is going to be HCTI. This is Healthcare Triangle. Stock popped as high as 2 and has come back into the VWAP. So far, it's just kind of holding out around there. Didn't really see any type of news here. We had a 4MS after the close yesterday, but for the most part, there's just kind of nothing going on here. You got anything on HCTI? You like this as a potential small stock play?
It didn't have news today, but they did announce a partnership with a company named Synomi. That was on Tuesday. So there may be some relative movement here. I don't know what else is moving this today. It does have a 1.99 million, let's call it 2 million share float. They did do a reverse split last May, so I don't really think that has any bearing. But aside from the low float and the news from earlier this week, not really sure why this is moving. So I think this can do whatever it wants today. I just would be a little bit more careful with this one since I don't know what's driving it.
I would agree, and I would think that your first big resistance area is going to be 227 if we get there. You can see that this has actually been resistance the last 2 times that we've come up here. The stock has not been able to get over it. And if you look back into 2023, this was some pretty strong support for the latter half of the year. So keep an eye on level 227 if you're going to trade HCTI here today. Lol, as soon as Ryan looks at it, it knifes below VWAP. Well, Jonathan, that you know what? You have a built-in indicator here for today. So good luck with that. Okay, I kid. Anyway, let's keep moving down the list. Next one here, we have HSDT. This is Helios Medical Tech. I know we've traded this one before. I recognize this ticker from the relative volume scanner. This thing had kind of a rough day yesterday. Looks like this really kind of plunged and bottomed out around 250. Today, entirely different story. In fact, the pre-market volume here today just completely dwarfing the volume of the regular session yesterday. I'm taking a look at this. I really don't have anything in terms of news here. Not really sure what's driving this one either. Volume does look good. And as far as the share structure goes, this is low float, right? 800K in the float. It's traded 7.13 million shares today. On average, it trades just under 500,000 shares. So fireworks could be on deck for this one. I'm a little bit weary. You got any levels for us to look out for, 13?
Well, with this one, aside from the 100,000 share float that you mentioned, it did do a reverse split last August, 1 for 50, and the short interest slightly, on the elevated side, 9% with 6.5 days to cover. Not really sure what the news is. I haven't looked at levels for this yet, but I'll put some of those in to see what I can find. But for now, I just don't have any news on this, and I think it's just going to be tossed around. It could be a widowmaker today, so just be very careful with this one. It's got 800K shares in the float, but that's still a bit more than the next one I think we're going to talk about.
Yep, indeed. Now, the next one that I hope this is the one that you had queued up there. The next one we're going to talk about is SGBX. This is Safe and Green Holdings. This stock was on deck yesterday. Remember, we talked about this. I had a 2-leg move right out of the open and then really kind of just sat under its VWAP for the rest of the day. Today, it looks like we're getting a little bit more action here in the pre-market as the stock pops. Do have a newsprint here. Safe and Green shares are trading higher after the company announced its SG Echo subsidiary is preparing to deliver its first sustainable modular unit to a prominent quick service restaurant customer in the Pacific Northwest. So nice little PR here about a potential new customer. Stocks popping here. We did trade as high as 450. We've come back in. We're actually moving away from the VWAP. So at this point, in terms of strategy, really kind of want this to put in a near-term bottom before we can round back towards that VWAP or towards that high. You got anything here on SGBX?
Well, as a matter of fact, I do. It's interesting they're not mentioning this, but yesterday they did a 1-for-20 reverse split. So that's why we're moving so much.
Tell us.
Yeah. So that's, I think, why we're getting such volatility. I don't think it's the news. I mean, the news definitely is helping, but I think we're really seeing these moves because of that reverse split.
Now, the last reverse split they had was in February of 2020. Want to just kind of go back on the chart and see if we can find out when that was. That was February of 2020. Looks like it didn't really have much until about a week after, where it did have a multiple 100% pop. So, okay, interesting stuff there. We've definitely seen that the reverse split stocks have produced some rather decent trading opportunities for our group. We'll see if SGBX adds to that list here today. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the next one. Next one here is, wow, this is, I was actually surprised to see this morning. This is Wow Wide Open West. This is an internet service provider, and my family back in the day used to be a subscriber of Wide Open West. For anyone that's around the Midwest and you know of Comcast, you know of how awful that company can be and how awful that company treats its customers. Wide Open West was a competitor for the Comcast market for a long time. They did a fairly good job. The news that's driving it here today, Wide Open West shares are trading higher after the company received an unsolicited, non-binding preliminary proposal from Digital Bridge Investments and various Crestview entities to purchase all of the outstanding shares of WOW that Crestview does not currently own for $4.80 per share in cash. So this stock looks like there's non-binding agreement here. 480 looks to be the price. The stock is almost there. So I'm actually not sure if there's going to be a trade here. We'll have to see how it ends up moving, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, especially after being a customer for, I think, 7 or 8 years. Our family was a WOW customer, maybe even more than that. Anyway, WOW here on deck. 13, you got anything on this one? I understand if you don't. It's kind of a...
Yeah, I didn't cover this one. It's almost. I mean, it's not a takeover, but it's kind of close to that. They're pretty much buying up as much of the company as they can. So it's. I don't think there's a whole lot here. The move is already in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. I really just wanted to mention it though. Okay. Next one here on the list.
SGFU has the greatest one. I feel like that with a lot of companies I have to deal with. SGFU, that's a good one.
Customer read hostage.
Yeah.
Actually,
that's DirecTV for you right there.
Yeah, that's Comcast for you right there too.
There
I have no bones about it. You feel like a hostage. It's unbelievable. Oh, you want to use unlimited data? Guess what? You have to pay $35 per month more now. Thank you very much. Okay. Anyway, I digress. AXTI, the next stock here on the list. AXT shares trading higher if the company reported better than expected Q1 financial results. This thing popped as high as 4, really then struggled to get above 380. Now it seems to be using the VWAP as resistance. Strategy here is really clear. If we can get above the VWAP, maybe consolidate or build, this thing should have some room higher. And we do have some levels clearly defined now. 385 and 4, those are going to be the next ones on deck here. AXTI. Did you have anything on that one? I know we're running out of time here, so I just wanted to move through.
Not a whole. This just has a little bit larger than normal float that we're used to trading. It's got 41.4 million shares in the float. So we can still trade this, but it's just not going to be one of those volatile movers like these other ones we were just talking about are.
Okay, ARDX is next on the list. And lo and behold, if you folks remember, if you don't have that goldfish memory that we've been talking about, ARDX was actually mentioned yesterday. We had a big pop after hours here, another leg up here this morning. Ardelex shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q1 financial results. This looks like a really nice move here. This actually holding beneath its VWAP, but up 18% here today. ARDX, I can't remember who was on this yesterday, but grats to you. I'm not sure if you held it or not. 205 million shares in the float. We're about quarter of the way through the average volume before the market even opens here. This all looks fairly normal here today. ARDX popping back to the VWAP. Let's see if we can't move through this and then maybe towards some of those highs. ARDX.
Yeah, I guess this is just what relative volume, maybe some movement off of some coverage or some ratings. But this is also a bit of a squeeze too. The float does have 205 million shares, so it's not a low float stock that we'd like to see move a whole bunch. But this does have a 17% short interest, and the days to cover on it is 6.8. So you could see some squeezing in this one as well if we're not already seeing it right here.
Wedbush, by the way, remaining a buy on this one per the news. Okay, and the last one that I had that I really wanted to take a look at here was Open. This is, of course, Open Door. We've talked a lot about some of the different real estate companies. Open Door Technology shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q1 financial results and issued Q2 revenue guidance. This took a leg up in the after-hour session yesterday, and then another leg up here today. Pre-market high looks to be 244. We are above the VWAP here on Open. I know when we talk about Open, we could also talk about like Zillow and stuff like that. This does look like this has come off at the $2 bottom here. Maybe we get another run. I'd be a little bit worried about this producing the same type of high that we did before. I think that this probably runs into some pretty tough resistance at 3 if we get there, but we'll see what we have on deck for Open Door. 45 seconds to go. You got anything left on this one?
Real quick, this company still is not profitable.
Okay, there you go. We've talked about that. When money's expensive, non-profitable companies, not the best way to play things, it seems. Palantir, by the way, I just noticed this is actually trading up here today. All right, you ready to go?
Let's go.
We are almost ready. Almost ready here.
All right, so HSDT, that one, I need to switch off of it.
And Maxim, good morning. JAGX is a penny stock. We don't really cover penny stocks here. We don't put a whole lot of effort into that. So sorry about that, my man, but good to have you here. All right, we are open. Let's see what the scanner is telling us. Let's take a look at a couple of these. I will switch over to the Trade the Pool broker here to execute pretty soon. And unless my charts just die on me, then I might do it sooner.
I will say that some folks do consider some of these crappier ones to be penny stocks. If it's like under $10, it's a penny stock to some folks. I'm just going to put that out.
Oh, you know what? Shame on me. I didn't get my thing ready here. Let me take care of that real fast. For me, penny stocks are it's a very literal definition. If the stock is under $1, it is a penny stock. If it's above $1, it is not a penny stock.
Yeah, even Jared. Sorry, Jared's anything under $5. I've heard under 5. I've heard under 10. It's basically, when if it's very, very low value, like a low stock price, it's a penny stock, and that's just what that's been the kind of like a blanket term for it.
Yep. Penny, like I said, I use the literal definition. Stocks under $5 behave differently than penny stocks. This is clear as day. We see it every day, so I call it something else. All right, let's take a look at some of the stocks that are moving here. So SGBX looks like that was rejected at the VWAP and pulled back here. Let's see if it can hold this bottom here. Got that at about 364. Looks like this is trying to push back up. I actually am going to switch over to Trade the Pool. Boom.
Yeah.
Oops. Let me get
HSDT leaking out of the gate. That's the one with no news.
Oh my God.
At all. HCTI.
Rivian looks like that first move here we did pop and then come back in. So far it's holding that VWAP. That's actually a pretty bullish sign here on Rivian. Let's check out Apple and see what Apple's trying to do here today. Looks like we're trying to, I'm gonna really quickly mark this off. Looks like we are trying to take this out. Where's my horizontal line tool? Right there. And then the bottom here, we're going to do that right here. Boom. Okay. So we'll see which channel we get here.
Yeah, what's it doing out of the gate? Kind of going sideways?
Yeah, it's figuring out which direction it wants to go so far.
Well, certainly not up. Doesn't seem the direction it decided to go with this morning when it opened. Look at some of these other names here.
I don't think WOW is going to move much. Open looks like that initial spike was rejected here.
I was going to say, guys, Amgen is adding around 260 points right now to the Dow.
Yeah, they had good earnings.
Seems like markets are rallying following this jobs report. I don't know how you take this jobs report because this is just a 1 monther. I mean, we still have CPI, PPI, and many more before another
PCE.
Fed meeting. So,
yep, and another jobs report.
Yes, and another jobs report. So, how can you make 1 month like a big uproar? I mean, you really can't.
This is the market we're talking about.
Yeah, by the way, the SPY was not able to get above that 511.51 that we talked about as being the 50-day moving average. I know we popped here into the open, but so far we've actually come back in. So I'm not sure. So far, we're not seeing the next leg. We're not seeing the continued run here. Soundhound being mentioned in the chat. This did pop and pull back a little bit.
DJAF, that's great. Awesome job on your calls. And I think I'm right there with you. Like, we've seen this before. I think what we're seeing with Apple right now is just exactly the expectation that some of us were having. Amgen, since Nick brought it up, this is moving because they had earnings yesterday, and they were talking about their weight loss drug. So a lot of positivity out of that discussion.
Now, what does that mean for some of the other weight loss drugs? Like, I noticed that VKTX here was actually down in the pre-market, and it looks like it's trying to trade back up here. How about, I wonder if Eli Lilly or NVO is affected. Eli Lilly a little bit lower here today. NVO, they're still low. This was lower in the after, but this doing the same thing VKTX is.
I kind of would think that the competition is going to end up being good for the companies, because I
think so too. Yeah,
you'll see investors place their bets on which one's going to be the best, or they're all just going to get bought up because they all have potential. So I think that it's going to be good for the companies in general. SGBX, by the way, we're getting a pop over the pre-market high here pretty soon.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to try that there. I've got that pre-market high here, 455. We are pushing up to that right now. Here we go. Can we break it and pull? Looks like we did print above it. I got a 456 print there for a second.
Oh, the volatility.
The volatility. By the way, speaking of volatility here, update on Swing, ticker PWP, reporting earnings. Remember, this was the Josh Gottheimer play. Josh Gottheimer seems to never lose when he trades, so he took a new position in PWP. I followed him in. I actually added to this position on that dip here in the 1340s. So still long in this, definitely down on it, but added here today on the discount. That's in the main account, by the way, not in the prop account. SGBX looks like it did take that out. 458, the high print. That's coming up here again.
Yeah, trying to figure out if it's going to go higher or if it's going to just get shut down here.
EBS looks like this is trying to go higher. This was a big one from yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
CTMX is flagging here. This actually just retook its VWAP. Let's see if this takes out the high. SGBX going back.
I think it. Well, I just saw some bids come in, so I thought it was going to get a little bit more of a lift than it did, but. Hey, I mean, it's still moving. There we go. Now it's going. There we
go. Oh, 13.
I wish
you had your coffee this morning. I love
it. And it's not done yet.
Okay. Okay. W mentioning FSLR. For solar here moving higher. So I don't see anything else great for a setup here. Apple, by the way, take a look at that. Really stopped at that after hours high yesterday. We've come back in through the VWAP. I'm going to keep checking on this. I think we might have a trade coming up here on this.
I was going to say best gain for Apple since November of 2022.
Okay.
And that wasn't a great year. SGBX, more. Knocking on the door of 5. And through.
Solar, Jay saying solar should like lower rates. So Jay, I guess the only thing that I have is I know we just got that from Powell, and then we got the employment data here today. we've seen this change before. So solar, this actually might be, a trade. I wouldn't necessarily get married to it right here. We'll see if we get any type of back and forth or any type of volatility on some of those solar names. Another one to take a look at if you are going to trade solar would be ENPH. That's also ripping here this morning.
Was there news or something why solar stocks are ripping? I'm sorry if I missed it.
It's just the news on the dovishness from Powell coupled with the jobs report here this morning, looking for maybe lower interest rates. Remember, solar is going to outperform in lower interest rate environments.
Yeah. Okay. So the thought here is that, hey, we're getting a weaker jobs report. So this is more of what the Fed wants to see. So we might get rate cuts sooner than, the rest of the market's thinking, which is seemingly priced in to happen after the election with a big maybe in September.
Yeah, and that's exactly. And if I recall, that kind of moved up, like the consensus was maybe December. And that was, I think Nick said it earlier. Nick, you said pulled forward to September, I believe was the language that you used on a potential rate cut. And I think you're seeing that reflected in some of the solar stocks here today. Real quick, Jay Rice also mentioning that DKNG, DraftKings here fading. That's probably because I lost both of my bets last night. I was so close on both of them too. Oh my goodness.
Guys, we are getting some breaking news regarding the Trump media. If you could throw up a chart of DJT.
Sure.
That's ticker. It is down near about 7.5%. We're getting reports that the auditor for Trump media and the auditor's owner were charged with massive fraud by the SEC for work that affected more than 1,500 SEC filings.
Okay. DJT selling off here, right down to 45, that magical 45 number.
Yeah. So here's some downside. I'm not suggesting anybody trade this, but if you feel up for it, here's some downside levels that I have for you. 45 obviously is one. We're through that now. Next downside one is 43, then 41.30, 40, and 38.50. So if you think any of those are worth playing for a bounce, good luck.
Like STFU, lawfare.
Yeah.
That's a really good term. I will absolutely reuse that. Oh man,
got to get those court soldiers rallied.
It's right. You got to do everything you can to make this guy look terrible.
IBRX
no
looks
question.
like it's trying to push over this consolidation from the pre-market. Needs to see a little bit more volume expansion, but it just had a big pop.
And this actually just reclaimed the VWAP, taking out some size here at 950. Looks like they refilled 948, which already got eaten.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I know, Carmen, and I think it's just the market kind of gets tired of waiting for things to happen. So now it finally did, and it's like, oh, okay, remember? Yeah, anyway, but. Hey, there's still probably trades in there. So if you're
there definitely is. This story ain't done. I got news for you. I'll make a call right here. This is not going to zero on this news. Sorry. There will absolutely be more trades in this to be had later on. SGBX, speaking of, forget that. We got better opportunity in SGBX. This ripped through 5. This now looks like this is pushing 550. I do have a little bit of size here, but that won't hold. Nope, there it goes. SGBX looking like this is going to go higher here. This is definitely the ripper of the day. I'll tell you what, that pre-market takeout, there was very little pull on that. VWAP was right there too. This thing's ripping.
I wish I probably need to look back here and see who it was, but somebody said that this was going to be the winner for the day, and it looks like they were correct.
It sure is. It sure is, at least so far.
Man, what a great call. Stock profit, SBGX is the play of the day.
Yeah.
Great call.
The question here is, at some point, this stock's going to pull. And my question at that point is, do we get a tradable setup at that pull? At this point, we're just testing 6. We're $1.50 away from the VWAP here. So careful on this one. If you're in on this one from any type of trade here today, I would definitely lighten into this move. Volume looking great. Boom.
Yeah.
Boom.
Just putting some levels into this one. That was a
huge move
trade.
Here.
Yeah.
Huge move here. Open took the next leg up here towards the highs, 259. SGBX, man. Nothing's beating that here today. Apple continues to come in a little bit. So we talked about that. Does Apple fade here? Do we maybe get another move? So far, moving in off of those highs.
All right, let's see what my levels look like here now. Okay.
GS all-time high? Sorry, 13, go ahead.
No worries. SGBX looking like 670 could be the next upside target here.
We would be another huge move from here.
I'd be looking for some support right about here, but between 570, 575. Looks like we're losing that right now. The next level down would be 490. Looks like it wants to try to reclaim that 575. So this is looking like a level here, this 570,
yep, sure
575 area.
I was just thinking that as you're like, wow, this sure looks like this is a level here. We'll see a little bit of size there at 577 on the upside.
Oh, wow. It just rebounded off of that for a moment there. Just kind of went up into the 580s. That was cool. Let's see what else I can find, though. You
Plug.
Keep an eye on that.
Yeah, Plug popping on my scanner. This is one we talk about often. Plug had a nice move out of the open here.
Becca mentioning DXYZ, and also somebody mentioned Lunar earlier, and that has had nothing but green candles, even though it's low volume.
The DXYZ one, this is interesting, right? This is that Destiny Tech. I know that this has really taken a huge beatdown after this thing went to 100. I think at some point, though, this is probably pretty decent for a bounce play. So good mention there, Bex. Today, it's actually having a pretty decent day. We're already up right off that 1350 level. We're taking the second leg up right now on DXYZ. I think there's probably a big bounce in here. Maybe Bex caught that one.
All the Mag 7s are green today. Not sure how I feel about that. Usually one has to be, usually one or two are red because you're seeing rotation out of one of them and into some other ones that are doing well, but they're all green today. Trying to think of what I make about that.
Osco's green. Bitcoin's still strong. How's Coin after that's earnings reprint and the move in Bitcoin here today?
Yeah, Coin should be doing all right. Let's take a look.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. So Coin here reported earnings yesterday, went lower, but didn't really break down. Now, with the Bitcoin move here this morning, we're pretty much back to flat here on Coin. We're holding right around the VWAP. I think that this thing might be able to get going. If Bitcoin keeps trading up and Coin breaks this 232 level on volume, I think we probably could go higher. I'm not willing to say that this is for sure going to go higher yet. I know we had kind of some rough earnings. We'll see where this ends up settling here. Looks like it's moving up so far here, just strictly on Bitcoin.
Jay Rice, I guess we all got stuffed out of EBS. I mean,
no, those would have been day trades. No, I don't think anyone would have still been in that. What do you mean?
I don't think I would have held this either, especially after that drop yesterday. The trade was in the morning, and that was it.
Yeah, no, that was a day trade. All of those trades were designed to be closed by the end of the day. So move today shouldn't really be affecting it. Although now that I take a look at this, we did have this initial move up. We've actually pulled beneath the VWAP. Watch for a reclaim here on volume. One of the things that I noticed right away, tons of selling volume here. So until that changes, we might not be able to actually move above that VWAP.
Jay Walker. Nice killing of the SGBX. You nailed it, man. Joaquim, Swede. I set my levels by looking. I went to a daily chart, looked to the left, and I found my levels that way. I just looked at where the there was support and resistance after major moves. So that's how I got my levels.
Morning, stay focused. Great to see you here. Jay's Life Booking. I crushed it on earnings, about 21 shares yesterday. At Booking, this stock's wild. I understand 21 shares stock is super expensive and moves hundreds of points. I actually don't trade this one. We did take a look at this one. I don't trade this one, and I actually don't use the product. I couldn't find any Delta flights on this site yesterday when I checked it out. But nice trade there on Booking for any of you that trade this one. Expedia also reported they were lower yesterday. Looks like they're getting ready to take the next leg lower here. So a little bit of divergence there between Booking and Expedia.
Guys, we are getting some comments from Bowman now from Fed officials as the blackout's officially over. She goes on to say that she has not seen further inflation progress this year, still see a number of upside inflation risks, repeats willing to hike if inflation stalls and reverses. I'll keep monitoring comments and we'll bring back any highlights.
So she said she'd consider a hike if inflation. Is that what you just? I'm just making sure I heard you correctly.
Yes, willing to hike if inflation stalls or /reverses.
So
she wants to take the other side of what Powell is saying.
You gotta love this, dude. We just had Powell yesterday. You gotta love this stuff. Oh, this market's good. I'm saying that jokingly. Actually,
FOMC is tearing itself apart. Apparently,
it's rather funny here. SGBX, maybe it's flagging here, consolidating, might be setting up for another move higher here.
Yeah,
Carmen, I love. There you go. Hikes not off the table. I don't care what Powell says. Indeed, we're gonna look. We got a long way to go in the rest of this year before we figure out.
She also goes on to say that inflow of new immigrants to some areas that lack affordable housing could push up rents.
It has already.
It has already. Yeah.
There you go, right there, folks. That's how you know the Fed is so far behind. They are months behind with that comment. Months. Jeez, look at what's happening in New York. I don't think I need to say much more. By the way,
No,
IBRX, holy crap. That is beelining for 10 right now. This is the one we were looking at earlier that was starting to get some movement. It just moved right through all that consolidation. We are at 988 is the high right now for the intraday.
1040, your after hours high from yesterday, IBRX. Voodoo saying, yep, Fed doesn't have a clue. Jay's Life wants to take a look at CGC. The pot name's getting a move here. Actually, looks like maybe we do potentially bounce here. Been flagging for what, 1, 2. This would be the third day that we're kind of in this sideways formation here. I don't have any angle on CGC. Like I said, I'm definitely for legalized cannabis. I'm just not sure on like actually trading these outside of day trades. I can't seem to get the timing right. This spot actually looks pretty decent though. You said earnings on Tuesday on CGC. Okay. I wonder if those earnings are going to be like a decent catalyst or not.
I think maybe what the question, the Q&A might be the more important thing to pay attention to.
So sorry.
No, go ahead.
I don't have a confirmed date for that yet. They probably did. I'm not doubting you, Jay, but I don't have one confirmed yet. I'll check with our news desk on that. CGC going higher is my only comment on CGC. Where's Wisdom at when we need him?
Guys, Bowman goes also on to say that risk strong, that consumer demand, more immigration, and tight labor market could lead to persistently high core services inflation.
Okay, so they're basically, so far, Bowman's saying that inflation not totally wrangled yet. That's what I'm getting.
I think Bowman is living in January or February.
Well, so basically, yeah, behind, slow,
way behind. Like the things that she's talking about right now are already happening.
Yeah,
we could see this. We're already seeing it.
Bowman speaking truth.
Well, it's she's looking in hindsight.
Yeah, it's you better have the truth when you're looking in hindsight.
It's just frustrating when you see. Yeah, it's just frustrating when you know that they're supposed to be better than this, and they just disappoint constantly.
Look, our group has seemingly been ahead of the Fed for what, a year plus, more.
Hey, Rustin.
EBS, sorry, 13. EBS popping here, looking like this is trying to curl and go towards its intraday high, which is just north of 360. I have that high here, 371.
Lunar still trying to push higher. That has not shown a red candle yet on the 5-minute chart. IBRX got as high as 994, getting a little bit of a pull here. I'll be waiting to see if this sets up for another push higher.
CDXS. This actually looks like this is trying to take out the highs here. Look for the volume. This is actually an interesting one here. Look for the volume to expand here. Gosh, I actually might try this right here. I'm going to try some of this. CDXS right here for a potential break higher. Stop right at VWAP. Come on, take out that 395. And actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to set this. Okay,
well, IBRX looks like it wants 10 here in a bit. It's got a couple of sell order walls to get through at 994, which it just took out. And then again at 10.
Let's take a look here at IBRX. We'll see if CDXS, I'm looking for it to take out this high. Let me get you that exact number here. I thought this was going to go a little bit faster. 396, got some size at 398 and 4. A pop through that, we'll book that. IBRX, let's take a look here. It's slowing down a little bit, but it is trying to go here. We'll see what this does if it moves through 10. I've got 997 as the high print, some size there at 10.
Mm-hmm. Hell yes. So we're all looking at the same thing. We're all looking at this the size get chewed through, or trying to get chewed through right now.
Here's EBS continuing its move up on EBS. And you use that, grab that here for a day trade. Remember, a day trade. We're not swinging any of these things. At least I'm not.
998 and IBRX, and then a bit of a pull, but still there. Yeah, maybe if it doesn't take 10 here, it kind of comes in a bit and tries again later. That could be another thing that happens with IBRX.
Open curling back up towards the highs here on open door. See the effect. Let's see if CDXS can get rolling here. Not quite, but it's holding here. We'll see on CDXS.
I've been holding, some INOD for a little while when it was under 6. If it gets to 7 today, I'm gonna exit. We'll wait for it to come back in. They have earnings next week.
Jesse talking about NVAX here. Ryan, I know you didn't like it, but I got NVAX when I called it for it. And dude, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I think. What matters is if you're making money, Jesse, and it looks like you are. So guess what? Register ring and a 1-up for you. Great stuff here today.
SGBX, it's looking like it could make another move in about 5 or 10 minutes. It's got a pretty decent looking bull flag formation, getting underway right now. So just something to watch for. It could get going here pretty soon. Just need to see a little more volume expansion. Need to see this 490 level hold. It looks like we might be getting it now.
Here you go on SGBX. Let's see if it actually takes out this prior candle here. Have that at what, 560?
The high at 559, yeah, right about there.
Okay,
yeah.
559. They're right through it, dude. Right through it. And they actually had a refresh seller that got eaten as well. I think this thing goes higher. Here's a great call, 13. You were on this one.
Thank you. Here we go. Woo!
I'm out of coffee. Darn.
You just made me want to drink some of mine. So I'm just going to.
There we go. So I'm helping
a little bit here.
Let's roll through some of these other movers. What else you folks got out there? I guess we'd slow down a little bit. If Maxim's still around, let's take a look at the penny stock that he wanted to take a look at. Not doing really anything, sitting around 34 cents.
Got to stop out here for GBX, so no losing on this trade.
CDXS, here we go. That popped through the 4. I want to see some more here. This is what we were waiting for. They actually moved the stop up now. Come on, let's go through that. Let's go through that.
Looks like 580 is going to be the next big hurdle to get over with SGBX, but the volume's still looking pretty good. Could pull here, so just keep on raising my stop until I get stopped out.
We're going to go to this target price 411 right there. Okay.
And I'm done.
All right. I have a trade set up here with automatic orders. So looking to close this on another pop above 410. CDXS raised the stop to just about break even on CDXS just to kind of protect this trade. We'll see if this ends up working out. Let's go to SGBX because that one seems to be moving a little bit quicker. You said you sold out of this one?
I stopped out of that one. Yep.
I stopped out of it. Okay.
I just kept raising until it went a little bit too low.
Gotcha. Yep. That's kind of what I was just doing on the other end here. EBS looking like this is going for the highs.
Yeah. I mean, SGBX could go higher, but and it very well might, but it's taking a little bit longer than I'd like. So I just decided to take my gains off the table with the stop.
You're never going to get an argument out of me for booking gains. That's for sure. Wiz saying, Ryan, get this. I went up to the Battery, watch the Braves game. Oh, that's what they call the park, the Battery? Because Xfinity canceled Bally. The whole Battery where the Braves play couldn't even show the game because they all use Xfinity. You're right, Wiz. That is embarrassing. That is embarrassing. Not surprised really to see that though, out of that company. Like I said, not the greatest.
SGBX trying to push a little bit more. It's just really having a hard time getting over that 580. And remember, this does have a very low float, 659,000 shares.
Sorry.
And there's why I had to stop out earlier because of this pull. So that's why
and I got stopped out pretty much even on CDXS.
So that's the whole reason for why I was doing that.
Now,
it could turn around and go higher here still, but for the purpose of that trade and my own financial protection, I stopped out there. So I'm
sure.
waiting for the next setup.
How tight of a stop do you usually have? This is a question from Elon here. Sorry, I guess I should have.
I was on that one. On that one, I was raising it every 5 cents as it went higher. It's just going to be dependent. It's just going to be dependent upon how what the stock price is and how it's trading. So sometimes it's they'll move it up every 10 cents. It just depends on how big it is. If it's like over $20 or something, I'll probably move it up. And it's moving a lot, I'll probably move it up at 50 cents to $1. But that's it's just going to be dependent upon the type of stock it is and how it trades. There we go. IBRX $10, and then it came back in.
It looks like it's going for that 10 again on IBRX.
I mean, and to SGBX, to elaborate on that further, some people will set a stop much lower because they're looking for more upside. I wanted to be out of that trade because it was kind of hanging out at that level that I was looking for a break. And if it does that too long, then it makes me a little nervous and I just want to move on. So I will continue to raise my stop until the price decides that it's going to go lower and stop me out. And then I'll just move on to something else. So just the way I've been doing things.
ABEO here. This actually has a pretty good move away from its VWAP. Pretty much all buying candles. I'd wait for a pullback on this one, but this one looks all right so far here today. Came right off the scanner. Scanner actually picked that one up a little late. ELYM is up, but this not on great volume. Needs some more. El Pollo Loco, this popped earlier. I believe this was this on earning? Let me see what that was.
IBRX could go higher here. The current formation that I'm seeing on this 5-minute chart is a megaphone formation. It's got a broadening wedge on the top of a big move that it just had about 15 minutes ago. So this broadening of the price action when it's following a large up move, that's a megaphone pattern. So we should see higher than 10 if this pattern resolves. It could get down to VWAP again, like it's moving, but I would expect it to bounce if it does.
SGBX, this is consolidating and coiling here. This looks like this is going to break in one direction. We'll see which one it does.
It looks like it's going to. But that float, just got to be very careful with, because at some point I'm thinking this is gonna knife. HSDT has not been great today at all. I guess
ARDX. Sorry,
it's okay.
ARDX, this does look pretty good, especially if it gets a volume break here. It looks like it's going to take the top end of this area out. Good call, JK. See if we go a little bit higher here. Got this up to about 9. That move measures to.
Elon, that's a great question, because yes, you can absolutely get killed when you have, because essentially what a stop is ultimately a market order. Because as soon as you hit the stop, it's going to convert that into a market order, and it's going to get you out right where the stop was. And if you don't have any bids that can fill that order right there, it's going to go to where the next one is, and that could be a good distance away from where your stop was. So that's a very good point. And when it comes to that, I maybe not use stops on something like that if it's has a very big spread, because
use a stop limit.
Yes,
most brokers allow you to create a stop and then a limit order, so your stop doesn't actually turn into a market.
Right.
That's something else you can do with widespread, but remember, that's not going to guarantee you get out of your position.
Right, exactly. So there's that too. So the spready ones, you are that's why they're so much more dangerous than some of these ones that have good liquidity and are much closer into price action. So when I mention how spready it is, I'm saying that for a reason. It's because there's an added amount of danger to trading those, especially if you're using stops. So it's very
look at UPLD. Oh my goodness. BKNG went red here. Glad that you sold. Good stuff here on this one. I have not been able to consistently trade this one back and forth. Good stuff there, Jay. I like this comment here too from Jay. Some weekend planning with a lot of earnings done. The ones left are mostly retail and software names. Setups with software could be good with TLT and many are down. So you're looking at a couple of things there. Are you going to play any of those for earnings ahead of the print?
Yes, Voodoo. Great point about the ladder. It really is helpful and able to do a quick stop without. Yeah, exactly. It's much easier to use a ladder. You do get a much better idea of where all the big buying and selling is seemingly meant to occur when it's like they're showing you their hand. They're showing you what they intend to do. So if you see a bunch of the sell orders and sell orders like pile up and the volume's low, it's not looking like it's going to go much higher, especially with all that selling pressure and there's no volume to chew through all those orders. It's just a really good tool. I love the ladder. Absolutely 100% Voodoo.
ARDX is going. Looks like it's breaking out of that sideways area that we just talked about. ARM looks like this is trading higher. Jay, you're saying ARM earnings on Tuesday. I don't have any new trade here, though. ARM looking like maybe 105 if this can curl back up and break. I've got 109 as the 20-day on ARM. No position here for me on ARM.
So we went right to 187 today in Apple and then just haven't come back.
Yep, 187.04 to be exact. And then on the SPY, 512.55 and an immediate 2-point rejection off that.
Interesting number.
Now we're pulling back here on the market. So let's see if we actually start a little bit of a fade here today.
Guys, we just got some more economic data. It was the U.S. ISM non-manufacturing came in at 49.4. Estimate was for 52. Non-manufacturing employment came in at 45.9. Estimate was for 49. And non-manufacturing new orders came in at 52.2. Estimate was for 54.5. So a miss on all three and has trailed lower since the previous report.
Happy Friday, Jesse. Great to see you here this morning, my man. Mara here. So this was higher off of the open. Mara, we might have a potential short on our hands here. What's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin so far holding in.
Yeah.
I don't like shorting Mara up here on the break of this channel with Bitcoin being strong. If this turns over, though, maybe get Mara. Apple, on the other hand, we might have this coming pretty soon. See if we were patient enough. Let's see what we do when we break 182.50.
Looks like SGBX thinking about trying to make another move or not. The volume is really starting to drop off, though. So it might be a little bit longer before it does that.
What happens at the VWAP? That VWAP at 506 for me.
Yeah, it's about where I got mine too. Let's see if it can take out 570 to 575. That's kind of the zone right there that I think it needs to get above. It's been rejected there so far all day this morning.
Yeah, and
that
it's
first
compressing.
Yep.
EBS right here at the top of the intraday high there, EBS. And now it looks like it was straight up rejected there.
Oof. Yeah, maybe it comes right back to VWAP. Yep, there it is.
SGBX Maxim, thank you. I don't know what I did, but you're welcome. At the end of the day, you're the one taking the risk and booking those gains. So we're going to give you a register ring and a one-up. Welcome, Maxim. Keep it rolling, dude.
So now I have the ladder starting to show me a bunch of sell orders coming in here, and the volume is not as robust as it used to be. So this is kind of the environment where some of these walls of sell orders may hold up. Maybe the first two might get taken out, but the more you start, okay, now we're starting to really come in here. So that's what I was referring to with these low volume. You start to see a whole bunch of these sell orders come in, and they just hammer the price down. So it looks like that's what we're seeing here right now with the SGBX.
Stay focused here, mentioning Google falling hard here. Google, indeed, this is really, really struggling, selling away from that VWAP. What's going on here? Stay focused. Did I miss something on this? Stay focused, one of my Google sources, if you will. I guess maybe I shouldn't misuse that word. You don't work there. You just know about the stock. Let's see if there was anything going on. I don't see anything fresh here today. It's just kind of a move with tech, maybe. I don't know. Google seems weak, though.
Wow, that is a really big move down.
Let me see what some of these other. I'm going to flip through some of the other tech. You got anything? You know what's going on here?
Is it? I wonder if it has anything to do with the Play Store issues.
What issues?
I think they have to do some kind of reform. Anybody that's that knows more about what's going on with their Play Store can help me out here. But I'm not familiar with this one. I think there's been some ongoing issues, especially between the Play Store and Apple. I thought there was some other issues too.
Yeah.
So it could be related to that. I don't see any direct news for this drop though.
Brett saying might try SQQQ again. I will say the best trade that I made was selling SQQQ yesterday after those gains. In fact, Stay Focused on the happy hour confirmed that for me. That was real good. Now, SQQQ here, do you think Apple continues to fade and got a lot of these big tech earnings out of the way? I actually think this is such a bad trade. We'll see if that ends up working. Maybe we get some bad news that affects tech over the weekend. I don't know. But down here actually just reclaimed its VWAP. This thing printed 11s, I believe.
Maybe we do see that weakness because there's only one Mag 7 left to report, and that's NVIDIA on the 22nd. So we have some time before that report. And, I wonder if the lack of Mag 7 reports is going to give us more, lead to more market weakness.
SQQQ holding in here. Yeah, Thomas. So this is kind of what Stay Focused was saying. Google's super weak in a strong gap, might sell any bounce. Stay Focused here was mentioning, I like this, maybe pumped a little too hard by the algos yesterday. It is indeed weaker than the market here. That is very, very clear. See if that changes and if that firms up. And by the way, I'm looking at GOOGL. It's the same if we look at GOOG, but just for some administrative clarity there, I'm using GOOGL. It's just the one I'm in the habit of using.
SGBX now under 4. I'm sorry, under 5.
Where's your bounce spot, DJAF? Where's your bounce spot on Google?
DJT, after that announcement we had with
163,
the fraud this morning, it's recovering off that.
You don't say. Told you this wasn't going to be dead.
Yeah, no, hey, we didn't even get to those lower levels. We 45. Interestingly, 45 held. The symbolism.
Now that I think is just kind of funny. I don't.
That is funny.
SGBX right here at the VWAP. It actually lost it. So, yeah. but we're right there now. The volume has really kind of compressed, and some of this has turned to selling volume.
Yeah, IBRX. I think that would be another one to watch. It looks like it could be starting to curl over here, but if we get some upward movement right about where the price is right now, or where it bottomed, I think we could retest 10. This is just a demand zone that it's trying to sell into right now. So if we get the support there, I think we're going to see above 10.
Okay.
Just kind of cycling through, seeing what else is doing things. HSDT has just been an absolute loser this morning. Could return later. We'll see.
HSDT, some of these smaller names.
The ones that we were talking about earlier, like this morning. HCTI, same way. Those two are just ugly out of the gate. But I have a sneaking suspicion they'll probably end up, recovering later in the day, as many of these have. So that'll be something to watch if you want to play something for Power Hour.
Apple here not giving us the fade that we were looking for a potential trade. Or I should amend that. I should say not giving it to us yet. We'll see what happens here. See what's happening here. I did promise you a second special guest, as if Nick wasn't enough here today. I did promise you another special guest. We'll be getting to that here pretty soon, folks, so stick around. Definitely seeing some more fading going on here.
Yeah, it looks like the level that Apple needs to see break down is probably going to be about 182.40.
I've got 182.58 or 182.50, but that's, just about the same.
Yeah.
MMM fading. How about those calls on puts for MMM? Yeah.
We happy hour absolutely nailed that one.
Yeah. And we nailed that on some of the upside too on MMM.
Yeah.
And all over that one.
It just goes to show how much research among peers really does help. We were all over that.
FYBR, I'm seeing on the scanner. Maybe a curl here for fiber.
What do they do? Is it the edible fiber or is it like carbon fiber?
No, this is Frontier Communications. This is like fiber optic.
Fiber optic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yes. Actually, I don't think they compete. I think they're just in different regions. DJF saying, I'm options only, though, so can tolerate pain more than others. You're a stronger man than I. I'll tell you that much. I much prefer to trade shares.
More fade than Zunaid's haircut.
Oh, dude. Okay, let me clip that. He spelled Zunaid's name wrong, so I'm sure he's going to get a mention about that. But I'm going to send this to Zunaid right now. I can appreciate it. And Zunaid, I will say this. Like I said, I met Zunaid in person. Zunaid is someone that actually appreciates funny jokes. So we need more of those people in this world, in my opinion. So I'm going to send this over to Zunaid. I'll let you know what he says. We're having some fun. Okay. Special guest in the back. Can I get a thumbs up if you're ready? Okay, not quite yet. It looks like we'll be doing that here pretty soon.
SGBX did retake 5. So look for it to return and try to go back and take out 570 to 575.
All right, folks, I promised you another special guest. It is time to live up to the promise. We are happy to welcome Mark Petrino to the stream. Mark, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing very good. How are you guys?
We're doing pretty good. Kind of watching the SPY here, watching the Apple move. Just for the record, I refer to Apple as Big Mama when it reports its earnings. So that's kind of what we're watching here. We'll see what's going on. Mark, for those of you that don't know, or excuse me, for those of our viewers who don't know who you are, can you mention a little bit about what you do here with us?
Sure. So I'm Mark, and I started and run the Benzinga Trading School. So I'll just give you a little bit about my background. I got brought into the business. I was in business school at NYU, and I met a guy named Mario Gabelli, who's a very well-known money manager. He's always on CNBC, managed, I think, about $32 billion now. So he hired me out of business school, and he's mostly known as a money manager, but he has a broker-dealer as well. So I was there as a market maker for 2 years. Then I jumped over to work for Steve Cohen over at SAC Capital. Excuse me. Sorry about that. He's people say like that's the show Billions is based on him, which I mean, I don't know. I've never seen Billions, but now he primarily owns the New York Mets. So I traded directly for both of these guys. So I got brought into the industry trading for literally two of the best money managers in the history of the industry. Then after I left SAC, I took a job down in the city as the head of trading. I was the head of trading at an institutional money manager for 5 years, then another institutional money manager for 5 years, and another institutional money manager for 5 years. And the last job I was at was great, but the place got taken over by these people that just destroyed the place. So then I was like, I'm too young to retire here. Like, what should I do? And I started to see like all this misinformation that is believed in like the retail trading community about just what hedge funds are, what market makers do, what algorithms are. So somewhere along the line, I kind of decided to go into like the education part of it, because there's just so much misinformation out there, and it causes people to lose a lot of money. And that's one of the main reasons why you might hear that like 90% of people that start out fail. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's more than that. But it's because they listen to the wrong things, or they focus on the wrong things. They don't pay enough attention to psychology. I'll give you just an example. When I was at SAC, Steve Cohen is like probably the greatest money manager, potentially in history, certainly of our era. You know, his returns are just off the charts. It's just phenomenal. His thing was psychology. There's a lot of trading systems that work, and it's easy to devise a trading system that works on paper. But when people have real money on the line, that's where their emotions get into play. So at SAC, there was a psychiatrist on staff. I mean, I was a low person on the totem pole, so I never talked to him. But he was basically like a psychologist, psychiatrist, trading coach. His name is R.E. Keefe. He was an Olympic psychologist as well. So I try to take the lessons that I learned and apply them to current markets. A lot of what we do, you would call the technical analysis side of things. But we also look at earnings if they're important, or we look at economic reports. And so it's kind of like an open type class. It's not like really like, you know, drilled down. We get a lot of students interacting and so forth. So it's been going pretty well, and hopefully we'll get some more members today.
Indeed. I love that you're doing the trading school. I'm someone that was self-taught, and I'll be honest, I really started to clean up some of the mistakes that I was making when I had more experienced people act as teachers or mentors. So I'm a huge proponent of building a strong foundation from people that actually know what they're doing. So appreciate you jumping on here, Mark. What are you seeing here with the market today? Our audience here, we're trading every day. Depending on what we see here. You make anything from the data print this morning, earnings last night or this morning? What are you seeing going on here?
Should I show my screen here?
You can if you want. Sure. You are under no obligation to do so, but if you want to do that, I'd be happy to bring it up. All you have to do is present it, and I'll throw it up here on the stream. By the way, Jay Michael from our chat here saying trading school with Mark is how I started into this. Love that, Jay Michael. Love that it's going well for you.
All right. I just shared my screen. Can you see it?
Sure can. Okay, cool. Here you go.
All right. Well, you know what? I was just doing my doing some studying this morning, and I just want to show you something that's like kind of really cool. At least that I think it's really cool. But I guess I'll just bring up the chart of Apple just to get us started, because we're talking about that. MicroStrategy I was looking at before. All right, but we're just going to get started with Apple. I just want to explain some of these technical analysis things that go on. Oh, look at that. Apple's kind of turning. But now look at this. You see how this 168 level was support back here? Support means there's more demand than supply. If a market's going lower, there's not enough demand. There's not enough buyers to absorb all of the shares. Remember, this is supply and demand. This is psychology. Right? You're not looking at the chart of Apple. You're looking at the chart of the people that trade Apple. I think that's a good way to look at it. So people sell here, stock rallies. A lot of the people that sold are like, damn, I made a big mistake. I shouldn't have sold. If I could buy my shares back at the same price I sold them at, I'm going to. So we rally. Guess what? We get back to support. The same thing happens. Remorseful sellers cause support to stay intact. Okay. Remorseful sellers can also cause resistance to turn into support. So people sell here, price goes lower, price finally goes higher. Oh, you know, it went higher. I made a mistake. If I can buy my shares back at the same price I sold them at, I'm going to. So when we see a support level staying intact, or we see resistance turning into support, or we see resistance staying intact, this is a buyer's remorse thing. People buy at the peak, goes lower, finally gets back, they can get out at break even. Right? One of the main things about trading is understanding that some price levels are really important and some price levels aren't. And we don't really know why a lot of times. So this is what I was looking at this morning. Now, the names have changed, the technology has changed, pretty much everything has changed, right? If we go back through history. But what hasn't changed is human psychology. So here's the Dow Jones from 1955 to 1983. Look what happens here. Resistance in July 56 turns into support in April 1962. Resistance in January of 1960 turns into support in July of 66. You got this resistance up here. This is a really fascinating example of psychology. ETFs didn't exist back then. There was only, I think, one or two mutual funds. So this is just a bunch of people all around the world saying, hey, if the Dow Jones gets to 1,000, I'm going to sell. So we get resistance at the former resistance levels. We can even go back here. All right, this is the S&P, and this goes back even further. This goes back to 1871. So what's going on back here? Well, this is the railroad bubble blowing up. Bubbles come along like every 20 years. Well, at least until Alan Greenspan came around. Now they happen a lot more. But because it used to be like you would have a bubble and then the generation would have to die off for the next generation to like not remember the lessons. But anyway, here's the S&P. Hard to believe, right? $6.50 back in April of 1881. Became support in January of 1903 and November of 1907 and June of 1921. Here's the market crash in 29. Finally, in 32, it comes to an end. Where? Right at the same level of support all the way back here. So this is an illustration of human emotions. This is why we see the same things in charts back then, even though like no one who was trading back then is still alive today, unless like there's something time traveler type stuff going on. The companies are pretty much all different. There might be one or two left, but it's really amazing. You see these same patterns coming up again and again. And then one of the ways that we think about trading, right, is you got to kind of let the market tell you what to do. Now, think about this. We get to a former support level and we rally. Well, why do we rally? Support is a large group of buyers, traders and investors who are interested in buying. Some of them start to think, you know, I'm willing to pay 168, but someone else comes along and says, I'm going to pay 168 and a half. The sellers are going to go to whoever's willing to pay the highest price. So another person might see that and go to 169. And you cause this snowball effect or this bidding war, which drives the price higher. All right. So this is why we rally off of support. The reason why we sell off of resistance is the exact, I guess, mirror image. Resistance is a large group of sellers. And when we get up there, picture being like an institutional trader with big order. Like I'd have 300,000 shares of Apple to sell. All right. You want to sell it at 197. But all of a sudden you see another offer pop up for 196 quarters. And now it's like, uh-oh, there's another seller in the market. I better reduce my price. And you go down to a half. Someone else sees that and they go down to whatever, 40 cents. And it's a snowball effect. Same kind of thing here. So when you know where these price levels are, the reason why it can help you is because it can help you put in your targets. Where are you going to buy something? Where are you going to sell something? You let the market tell you what to do as opposed to just guessing. I'll show you a thing that we've been watching for a potential trading idea over here in CVS. Not yet. It's not there yet, but it's on our radar screen. Now, this is a chart which really shows you a good example of what we call market memory. A price level that's important can remain important for a long time, longer than you would even think. So this is CVS, the drugstore. And back in August and July of 2015, we hit resistance right around 111. Here we are in in February of 22. Okay, 7 years later, it's resistance within a point or two of itself. We can see here, this is a long-term chart here, but we can see here the $83 level was resistance for 2 years. The 76.50 level was resistance for a year. Now, this is what I want to point out. Notice how support or 52 was support back here in May of 19 and March of 19. Then this is the COVID crash. And if we come forward now, we're getting really close to that level. Another thing that really sticks out here is this on the bottom here. This is called the RSI, the relative strength index. This is a way of measuring momentum. Momentum is not the same as volatility. Momentum is like how far has something moved from time period A to time period B. If we get really far below what would be a typical or usual trading range, we call that oversold. And if we get above it, we call it overbought. The reason why that's important is because if we're oversold, that's going to draw buyers into the market. A lot of strategies on Wall Street are based on this concept of reversion to the mean. So right now, we could go all the way back, but I won't. You can trust me on it, or I can show you fine. But right now, we were sold. The last time CVS was this oversold was 1987, when the market crashed. Okay, so we're getting to a level where there might be some buyers. We're oversold conditions where that could draw buyers into the market. This is on the radar screen, but it's not a trade yet. See, what I teach people, I think, is a logical idea. Of course, everyone's got to develop their own style, but to wait for the reversal to actually start before you jump in. There's an expression on Wall Street. It's called catching a fallen knife. That means people try to pick the bottom, they buy, and they just get run over. Just because it's really oversold and at support doesn't mean it can't keep going lower. I just think the odds are there's a good chance we get a reversal. But I would wait for the reversal to actually begin before I jump in. What could tell you that the reversal is starting? Well, let's put it this way. The fact that we're really oversold and we're getting to support, we can call that, like, say it's a race. You're get ready, get set, but you don't have the go yet. The go would be when the reversal starts. Now, how could you know? One of the things I like to do is if the RSI line starts to turn up, that's your signal. That's your trigger to get into the trade. If trading conditions or momentum is getting back to normal, it shows that the sellers are kind of, running out of power or powder, so to speak. And it's like something's really out of equilibrium one way, before it to get out of equilibrium the other way, somewhere in between there, it's like perfectly neutral. It's like the analogy of, like, say you're trying to knock over like a refrigerator, right? You don't just do it on the one push. It goes back and forth, and right when it's in the middle there, it's like perfectly neutral. So this is one of the things that we talk about, letting the market tell us what to do. We spend a lot of time on psychology, because if I had to say one thing about trading, why it's so hard for a lot of people is this. Humans have not evolved in a way that's conducive to being a successful trader. We experience fear. Now, maybe 20,000 years ago, fear would be a good thing. If you're walking through the forest and a saber-toothed tiger comes to hunt you down and you're running, well, you get fear, right? You get stronger, you get laser focused, you get adrenaline. Well, when you have the fear of losing money, it makes you do irrational things. The two biggest things a trader can do wrong are hold on to their losers for too long and sell their winners for too fast. Think about paper trading. You have a system and your paper trade says, all right, buy 1,000 shares of this $10 stock and sell it if it gets to 15. And if it goes to 9, sell it, take your stock up, take a loss, and move on. Okay, great. So $10, you're watching it, it goes to 11, goes to 12. You're like, wow, this is easy. Goes to 13, maybe back to 12 and a half, 14, it gets to 15. And okay, wow, I'm up 50%. This system's going to work great. This is going to be easy. Or it goes the other way. All right, it went to 9. I took my $1,000 loss. It's 10% of my capital. I'm going to just go move on to something else. All right. Now, let's say you have real money on the line. You put in a real $10,000. Everything changes. You get up to 12 points. It's like, wow, I got $2,000 here. That's a lot. I know my target is 15, but $2,000 is a lot of money. I don't want to leave it on the table. I don't want to lose it. So I'm just going to sell here, right? Money makes you does emotional things that make you do illogical things. It goes to 9 and we got real money. I don't want to lose $1,000. And, I don't want to tell all my friends I lost money. So I'm just going to hold on to this and hope that it goes back up. So we spend a lot of time talking about psychology as well. So that's kind of a brief overview of what we do.
Yeah. So a couple of things there. So I actually love that. I agree with you. Psychology plays a huge role in this. We don't often talk about it. Used a lot of the terms that we use here on the show. And then also I was very pleased to see the Seinfeld reference out of you in terms of tipping over the refrigerator. His example is, of course, a vending machine, which I have also used. Mark, this is really good. We are out of time here for today. One quick comment here. I had to repeat this because I thought this was hysterical. Jay Rice says, I'm going to buy CVS when they stop locking up the toothpaste. So maybe that's your indicator here. I'm going to get back in, Jay. But Mark, tell our guests where can they find more of you or if they're interested, where can they find your course?
Well, the trading school is Monday through Friday, and it typically goes from 11 to 1. And like today's Friday is our kind of our office hours class where it's really just people asking questions and so forth. So depending on what's going on in the market, it may be a little bit shorter or a little bit longer. But I have to admit, I don't know how to access it from the Benzinga platform because I'm
That's
like,
okay.
I just get it from my side.
Yeah, no, you have a different login as the instructor. I went ahead and put the research site in the chat there. If anyone has any interest in that, please reach out to us. We will be more than happy to get you set up on that program. Mark, thanks so much. I want to have you back here. Can we do this on maybe like a weekly cadence or something like that, depending on your schedule? I'd love to get your opinion on what we're seeing in the market and get your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, sure. I'm pretty available. Just let me know.
Okay, I think what we'll do is we'll make Fridays days for Mark, right? We'll bring in Mark here and we'll talk a little bit about market psychology, what's going on. So Mark, thanks very much. Hope to see more of you here. Again, I will go ahead and get that link here in the chat. And if anyone has any interest in this, please let us know. I'll have someone reach out to you today. Thanks very much, Mark.
Okay, thank you all. Have a nice weekend.
We'll see you around. All right, folks, that is Mark Petrino from our trading school. Like I said, I'm going to keep trying to bring you on a whole bunch of different guests here. Mark really focuses on things that I think are extremely important. I know when we're talking about live trading here, a lot of stuff is moving really, really fast, but the psychology is a humongous aspect to this. It's great to see a whole bunch of you recognizing that here in the chat. So awesome stuff. Smash up the like for our guy, Mark. But also, while we were talking about that, first of all, smash up the like for 13 and the group because SGBX was an absolute monster. We're talking. This is obviously
it still is. Look at it go.
It still is going. This move is obviously not over. Multiple legs up here. 13.
Yeah.
What kind of levels do you have ahead here?
Just before this move, I was saying the setup looked good. Just be careful because volume was looking a little bit lower, and we are getting a little bit extended here with this one. We did get a pretty good pull off that one. Went right up to my 765 level. Well, actually, we're 4 cents short, but I'm sure we'll be forgiven for that one. If we continue upward, the next level I have is 880 and then 985. Those are that's if we continue with this this rally here. But I don't know where this ends for SGBX. Just be careful because one more reminder before we go: 659,000 shares in the float. They just reverse split today or yesterday. I'm sorry.
Looks like it's pulling back here a little bit. Let's see if this sets up again. I'll tell you what, another VWAP, another pullback to the VWAP, you might have an opportunity to get rolling here.
Well, the thing that's interesting here is these levels. These are that I've been mentioning. They become their resistance at first, and then we break out over them. They become the support, and that's what we need for this continued upside. So let's look at that first level I had, which was between 570, 575. The price was not able to get it back above there. Then about 15 or so minutes ago, had that big breakout all the way up to that next level that I had with 670. And we got rejected there, consolidated, broke out of that level. Next level we got up to 765. Get a little bit above that, 770, 765. So that's been rejected. So the previous level is going to be support. We're going to want to see that 670 to 675 a level hold. And if it does, then we could make a case that we're going to be breaking over this 765 level and going up to 880. So that's the next thing to watch. It's just these levels, they've been really, the price actually has been really paying attention to these levels. So I think it's worth looking left and seeing where those levels are.
Okay. 13, call of the week here per Purgatory Park. Guess what?
Wasn't my call. I appreciate
nice
that.
You're going to get the Borat drop here today.
It wasn't much. It wasn't. Well, there are other folks that were calling about this one much earlier than I was, but I appreciate that. But it's the credit should go to them.
Gladys here saying, really appreciate the guest during the trading day. Please consider a lunch break as it would be helpful to gain some insight prior to power hour to the close. Gladys, this is an excellent suggestion. What I will do is I will copy your suggestion here and I will share this with the show's team. So I can't necessarily promise any change in our content programming, but I really appreciate that feedback. We ask for feedback here all of the time to better not only our services and our shows, but everything that we do here. I will deliver that on your behalf to the show's team. Thank you very much, Gladys. Okay. What else we got going on, or is this pretty much the stock du jour, if you will? Smoke Tuna mentioning CTMX, looking like this is trying to reclaim the VWAP and move higher.
I mean, there are so many good ones that are just having really excellent moves right now. I mentioned earlier that CGC had a new intraday high, and now we just got another new one. This one was getting mentioned, I believe, by Crow early in the morning. Another really good move by this after we had that consolidation in the open. We just had a massive break on that one, so that's great. DJT turning around after 45 came in and gave support. This one may see some resistance at about 48. So we'll see if it can get up there and break through it or not. Lunar has been, a slow mover, slowly up out of the out of the gate. It came back in once, trying to recapture the intraday high of 535 pretty soon here. So maybe if this starts to get a little bit build up in volume, we could break out of that 535 level and go a little bit higher here on Lunar. Let's look through the list here for some of these other ones that have been moving. Those other two that we mentioned earlier in the morning, HSDT and HCTI, not great. HSDT still looks like there's more downside ahead. HCTI might be finding a bottom. We'll have to wait and see if that materializes, but I still think these are worth keeping on your radar for a trade later today. Some of these names do end up coming back later on.
Yeah, that HCTI looks better for a later on trade as it's holding this level. We'll see if it gets that volume expansion that pops it. Also, decent move back here to the VWAP in terms of target. HSDT looks like it's still hunting for a bottom. Looks like there is no bottom in sight there. EBS getting mentioned again. This has given multiple trades here today. Ticker EBS. This looking like it's trying to set some new highs here today.
And SGBX. Holy crap, another big move up through that level, the 765 level, got up through that, got as high as 837, couldn't get to the 880, which is my next target. So this may be a little bit more too extended here. We could end up coming back in if that's what happens. But also shout out to Seahorse Trading for seeing the same thing, SBGX getting extended.
All right, good deal there. I'm actually just going to kind of leave SGBX as the stock on by default. This seems to be where we're getting the most amount of movement. Voodoo saying we tried that years ago, 12 to 1 p.m., that lunch hour idea that Gladys suggested. Started off good, then got corrupted into a talk fest instead of a trading hour strategy session. Okay, that's also good feedback to add to that. We'll see if we can do it better the second time around. I was not a part of that, so I can't take any responsibility. We'll see if...
I wonder if it was that you weren't part of it. And the other thing is, I wonder if the fact that Happy Hour has been doing so much, has done so well since it started, is because we stay on the topic of stocks and discussing the market.
Indeed.
And sometimes, yeah, we do the sports a little bit. I will concede to that, but
yeah, for the most part, you know what? I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but I'm just going to be honest with you folks, right? I'm just going to be as transparent as I possibly can. There's an extreme amount of overlap with sports fans and stock traders. That's never going to go away. Okay. That's never going to go away. But 13, you hit on perhaps the more important part. We are all business and we are focused on what's going on. And we are focused on what can make money going forward. And I agree with you. That session has really remained a strategy session since we started it. In fact, it really kind of morphed from like a chart suggestion, ticker time analysis to strategy session. And that's really what's made it valuable. By the way, PWP, this was the Gottheimer play that I mentioned at the morning here that really kind of sold off here. Boy, I tell you, those ads in the low 13s looking pretty good as it looks like we're about to take out 14 here. So we talked a little bit about catching a falling knife. I had no levels. I saw this thing dropping. I was like, I want some. I know it's going higher. Bang, bang, bang. Here we are.
And let's see, it was Smoke Tuna mentioning EBS. As you were talking, that did make a new intraday high. And
so that did take out the top and go higher there.
CGC now making a new intraday high and going higher.
Guys, we are getting some news regarding the Skydance Paramount Apollo play right now. CNBC is reporting that Skydance bid for Paramount hinges on Sherry Redstone as special committee ends exclusive talks. The Skydance consortium is prepared to walk away from its bid for Paramount if it doesn't hear from a controlling shareholder, Sherry Redstone, after the latest Apollo Sony offer. That's according to a person familiar with the matter. Skydance's exclusive period with Paramount will not be renewed after it expires on Friday, so today. People familiar with the matter told CNBC's David Faber. And remember, Apollo and Sony sent a letter to Paramount's board on Thursday expressing interest in buying the company for about $26 billion.
Okay, really good stuff there. That's ticker PARA. What was the other ticker that was associated with that? I might have missed it, Nick.
Apollo, APO.
APO. Thank you very much. He did say that. I didn't.
I noticed that ASPN, one of our old girlfriends from yesterday, is approaching the pre-market high. Volume's not great right now, but when we get up to these pre-market highs for an attempt to break out, the volume tends to try to pour in. Just ASPN may be worth watching here if you're interested in trading it. We just got a break at that pre-market high, but not by much. So just wanted to point that out. There's a pattern here. I'm not sure the volume will be able to match the upside move we'll be looking for, though. I was just asked about 13 and CGC. Let me see. I'll tell you right now if I think that's what's going to happen.
Okay, and I have someone was asking earlier, here is a link to that trading school that Mark Petrino runs. Again, there is a very, very methodical way that Mark goes about this, and he's really trying to build foundational pieces. That's something that I can definitely appreciate. I think if I had to go back and do it again, one thing that I would focus on more at the beginning of my education would be the fundamentals that Mark talks about. So went ahead and threw that there in the chat. I will continue to do that, and we will continue to bring Mark back. If you guys have questions for Mark, save them. And the next time he comes on here, we'll do a Q&A with him as well. Really good stuff there. Okay, back to what's going on here. I got SGBX on another screen, and guess what happened? It went right back to the highs again. So I figure we might as well bring this up. SGBX, just an absolute rager here today.
As far as CGC going to 13, I'm sure that was, asked because that's what you guys call me. But at the same time, there is some pretty big consolidation from 2021 where it started at 13 and the consolidation went as high as about 1465. So we did trade into that a few days ago and got rejected. So that could be another zone of supply that sees price rejection in CGC. So yeah, sure. I think that it's possible we could see a 13 price target and then get rejected. It's possible. I don't know if we'll see it today though.
Okay, good stuff there. Real quick, Jay's Life saying, yeah, how much is the trading school? $25,000 a year? Because that's how much they normally charge. I've seen stuff like that. Jay is not wrong about this, but that's not how we do things here. One of our entire ethoses here is trying to, raise the playing field for retail traders. We know that not everybody can afford $25,000 a year education course or a $25,000 a year Bloomberg machine, for that matter, and Bloomberg terminal. So we totally get that, and our goal is to try and lower that barrier to entry. This is a really good comment, though. Okay.
ASPN, that one I was talking about, it broke out.
Every time that you say ASPN, the first thing I think about is ESPN, and I'm like, that's not what we're talking about here. But here we go, new highs. That was a great call ahead of time, by the way. It's not
a super big move. I mean, you're getting about 30 cents here, which is fine, but it just looked like it had the setup. It was doing everything, and the volume just wasn't great, but we got enough to push it up here. I don't know what it's going to do, but if you manage to capture some here, great job on you.
Yeah, Jay, I would agree. Spend your money on education up front. Paper trade if you have to, right? Paper trade if you have to. That's get practice in there. I completely agree with that. I think that's real smart. And in fact, that's what I did when I first started. I obviously paper traded first. Then when I also moved to real money, I started out with low amounts, and thank God I did, because I blew those accounts up, and I learned hard lessons doing that. There's ways that you can do this a little bit more efficiently nowadays. So
Apple tried recovering some of the loss this morning. It got up to 185 exactly. Well, 2 cents short. 2 cents short of 185, and then it's coming down a bit. Looks like 185 is something of a resistance level here in Apple.
Let's bring that up here. I'll tell you what, Apple, this was the one big stock that I had a trade plan here for today. Kind of a bummer. Really just kind of stayed in this range. We'll see if that ends up resolving in one direction or another.
Yeah, I don't know if SGBX is done or not. It's still putting in. I mean, here we go. We're still getting support from the 765 level that we broke into not too long ago. It's giving support. So if we continue to get that support, then we're going up to 880, in my opinion.
Here we go on that bounce, 13, reclaiming 8 right there. We got a Lulu mention in the chat. It's been a minute. Been a minute since we took a look here at Lulu. Where are we at here? Is this rolling over?
Did it finally stop dying?
I mean, yeah, it looks like it has. 329.5 looks to be the near-term bottom here. We moved from 329.5 back to like 370, and now it looks like we're kind of rolling over here. We are using the 20-day SMA as some support right now, 13. So I don't know if you like that here for a potential trade. I would imagine that if the consumer continues to weaken, I don't really see a huge positive catalyst here yet in Lulu. Do love the products, though.
I would say that if it does continue to move up and off the support from the 20-day SMA, you have the 500 and the 50 to contend with next. And there goes SGBX. Technicals work again. The thing is that Lululemon does have a death cross here. So I think that if we do get a rally, it's not going to last much longer. We could see it trade up to maybe up to 400 or something close to that, and then turn around and come back in. SGBX all the way to 876, just 4 cents shy of the target I was telling you about. The technicals have been absolutely killer with this one today.
Let me go over to SGBX. Sarah's a little slow there. Did the MNDR cut in half? Oh my gosh.
Real quick. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the last time we saw MNDR do this, it traded into an 8 handle and bounced back to 20s. So I understand if you're looking at this again and you're thinking, boy, we might try that. Be careful with that. Just because it did it before doesn't mean it's going to do it again. Big drop here. I believe this is halted at the moment on this move down. MNDR, yes, this is the second halt of the day here. So keep that in mind. 13, I'm sorry. What stock were you about to mention?
I wasn't going to mention a stock. I was going to answer Brett Green's question. He was asking when was number one, and number one was I'd have to look at my research, but the mid 1500s is about, as I believe, when the first one was around, and it was the 8th. That was the first one in. Well, no, I don't think he was the first one. The 8th was in Massachusetts. He was an architect. But I'm trying to think of who the first one was that came over. I know the name of the ship that came over. It was the Leon.
Is this your ancestry that you're giving?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, awesome.
So, not too important, but anyway, just to answer your question, the first one should have been in the mid 1500s Wales.
DJF, I can't tell if this is a troll comment. It sure seems like it. If you're getting info from stores when they're closed, bro, you're doing it wrong. Lol.
That's great.
I think he's kidding, obviously.
No, I think that's a good joke. It's funny. They're out of business. Their store is closed. Puts. Oh, the store is closed. Buy puts.
They're not open 24 hours like Amazon. Short that puppy. Short it.
No chance for that company.
I'm playing 4D chess.
If the doors are closed, so's my wallet. Sorry, guys.
Jay, that escalated quickly. You were talking about trading the stock yesterday and being in the loony bin. Well, MNDR, not only the loony bin, but a straitjacket with a lobotomy scheduled. Yikes. Well, do us a favor, Jay. We really appreciate the commentary that you have, so please don't trade that. Let's stick to the bigger stocks here so we don't lose you to a straitjacket and or loony bin. We don't need any of that. Tom, real quickly, I'm sorry. We'll get to your Carmen's question here in a sec. Thomas, I'd like to hear Mark discuss the VIX against the trade as it's pretty low. When the VIX was super high in the 80s range 10 years ago, trading was a dream and not for the beginner. This is a good point, and I wasn't trading around there, so I don't have any insight to give you. I've screen capped that. I'll deliver that to Mark. We'll see if we can cover that when he comes back. Good stuff there, Thomas. I appreciate that. 13, I'm sorry. I'll go ahead with what you were looking at.
I was just going to make a joke because Carmen was saying that she's got ancestry in Wales too, and I was just going to say, hey, we're probably cousins like 300 times removed. But anyway, SGBX, that's still going higher. Broke over 880, using that as support now. The next upside target is 985. Let's see if we can get that. It got as high as 925 on that break, and it's trying to decide what to do next. I am going to have to look left some more because I was not anticipating that we get the price to go up this high. So I need to set some more levels. So bear with me while I do that.
Hyper Fork Sky. That is an interesting avatar and awesome name. Have a great weekend. Green on the day. You're out. Cash register ring for you. Enjoy your weekend, my man. We'll be back on Monday. I almost said back on Friday. Holy smokes. It is a Friday here. By the way, Tesla here looking like it's about to lose this 180 level. So Tesla, big 4.5 point reversal here on Tesla so far today.
Okay, so I guess this might be, and this might be different in Benzinga, but according to my broker, we're about to hit all-time highs in SGBX. All-time high I have here at 974. So not sure how I have this.
I have here. Let me take a look. I don't have that as an all-time high. Let me see what's going on here. Do we getting some charting mishaps here with missing candles?
It tends to do that with these reverse splits.
Yeah. Okay. So reverse. I mean, this thing is down from 1250 here. So with reverse splits accounted for, this thing is down from 1250.
1,250.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then I guess it's lost money. Yeah. This is.
I'm sorry for laughing, but you have well-placed jokes.
So yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at my broker, we're gonna have blue skies above 975. I don't know where I got 985, but I guess I just didn't measure it.
I mean, those levels I think are still in play here. The ones that you're discussing, despite the chart that we just showed there. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. So we'll say 975. We go above that, we're in blue sky territory, and all bets are off.
TWST here. This is Twist Biosciences. This actually doing a really good job holding higher here. Watch if this ends up breaking and moving higher. I've got this 42 as the recent high here. So still have another 2 points if this can break out. It's really strong here today.
We have Emery next.
Yes, we do. So Jay's Life, yes, there is 6 minutes left here in live trading. But again, from 11 to 11:30, we'll be bringing Anne Marie on to discuss option trades. Nick, how you doing over there? I feel like that news flow kind of slowed up, and I'm sorry about that. You've been doing such a great job dropping them on us. I'm sorry that it seems like it's kind of slowed down a little bit here.
Yeah, just going through the reaction, guys, of what's been going on with the jobs report, getting some statements. Wells Fargo thinks that what happened to my Wells Fargo document? Well, that just disappeared right on me. Wells Fargo does think regarding the jobs data today, they think it's unlikely the FOMC will be ready to start cutting rates by its next meeting in June. But their base case is for the first rate cut to occur at the September 18th at the FOMC meeting, and they also remain firmly in play. That remains firmly in play based on today's employment data.
We did see that Goolsby was making some comments too about the jobs report.
Yes, Goolsby said that they hit a bump on inflation at the start of the year, and he also goes on to say he was being interviewed on Bloomberg TV saying that monetary policy is restrictive. Real federal funds rate is at a high as it has been in decades. They need more comfort on whether Fed is still on a path to lower inflation.
Okay, so in your opinion, Nick, if we start to see some of these economic reports and these job reports, if we see some the employment rise to unemployment rise to let's say 4%, job losses or jobs added are starting to come around 150 and lower, and then we get PCE getting closer to 2, CPI maybe coming in. Do you think that if we start to see that happening between now and June, that they're going to be rethinking the June cut?
They may, but I don't think it's all just going to be based like in a flip. I think they may pause. Once again, they may hold rates steady at the June meeting and then we'll continue with the next FOMC meeting. I'm not convinced that June is literally right here on the table, ready to go. I think it's going to take for a little bit of the data to catch up, because remember, this data is a lagged effect, and that is the problem here, that with this lag effect, you can't really predict when a cut can happen, how inflation's going to pertain. What could happen is the FOMC meeting in June, everything goes well, and then all of a sudden in the summer, we can see an uptick in inflation, an uptick in gas prices, an uptick in the employment report saying we really can't cut, or we get that other reverse effect that they may have to cut. So right now they're looking at this data. I think the inflation part is sticky. I'm not convinced that inflation is going to go near 2.5, 2.4, 2.3. It's going to be in the stickier inflation because of gas prices. And I think this inflation with chicken, with milk, cocoa, we've seen these commodity prices, butter at an all-time high. I think these commodity prices is really sticky, and I'm not sure the Fed even knows where they're going to go. I think they're just trying to put out a statement just so they get the airtime. But I think in my mind that they're not ready to go anywhere. They don't even know what's going to come up in the next June meeting.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Real
I
good.
Appreciate all that. Yeah.
Yeah, real good stuff here. Stay focused saying, Ryan, Nick is this young man on as a regular. Well, Nick unfortunately has, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, I misspoke. Nick is actually still in school and has loving parents that want to see him finish school. So what we need to do is we need to encourage Nick to stay at it, so that when he's done with his school obligations, he can join us. I will say, Nick, I've talked to you a number of times. The invitation is always open for you to join our show. And I'll say this, stay focused. Nick has that burn and that desire to join us all the time. He is always asking me if he can join, and he has never received no as an answer. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep continuing to encourage him to stay on the path that he's on, and we will bring him on as much as we can. Really nice comment here. Stay focused. I appreciate that a lot.
I will officially be joining the show full time coming June 3rd, because I do graduate May 31st, but I only have about 10 roll days left of classes, but we have like graduation practice. But I'll officially be joining the show as a regular Monday, June 3rd.
Ask
live trading with a massive
receive.
upgrade.
Ask and you shall receive. Boy, we're bringing on guests here. Now we're bringing on a new panelist. I love to hear that. I love to hear that. Really good stuff here, Nick. Again, thank you so much for joining us here. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really great. Folks, it is 11 o'clock, so you know what that means. It is time for some options with the one and only Anne-Marie. So we're going to get over there. 13. And Nick, you got any closing comments for the day?
Everybody take care and have a great weekend.
Love the enthusiasm there.
We'll see you shortly, but when I'm not on live trading, Ryan and 13 can fill my shoes, and they do a very good job. I do tune in sometimes during school.
Oh, man, I love to hear that. That really makes me happy. Nick, thanks so much again.
Thanks,
really
Nick.
look forward to adding you back here as soon as we can. 13, great job as always. You folks promise me you'll enjoy your weekend, okay?
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Take care. 13 and Nick's departure leaves a space for Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, happy Friday, TGIF. We are one day away from Star Wars Day. How are you doing here today?
I am doing well. This is going to be the last day that I get to visit in this lovely office. I'm back to the Cape in Florida, and so I'm enjoying all my time here. And so I'll be back in Florida soon. So glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Amazing. And we are glad to have you. And I will say I am impressed, even with your traveling. It doesn't matter if it's a different country or a different state. You are here to join our group. That is some dedication. So really appreciate that. Okay. Anne-Marie, I know we missed a couple of sessions here. Where are we at right now with some of maybe the previous trades? And then I would say cover whatever previous trades that you would like. And then if we have some new trades here from the group, we can break those.
So I do have one trade for folks to look at in this space, and it is FANG. They just reported a couple of days ago. Big fade, but if we look at the weekly chart, we can see it's a little bit toppy up there. And so what I suspect is a little bit of mean reversion. Now, I think that overall, with the job numbers being a little sticky and sort of whatever's going on there, that an iron condor here would be nice. I don't think we had higher, but I do think we have a mean reversion into potentially this 85 area. And so this trade is really, I'm going to make that a 9. This one's really nice. I want to do it on a shorter time frame, simply because you never know what's going to happen across the pond. Things get a little weird, whatever. So I do believe 185 to 180 on the put side, and 205.29 to 210. And of course, that number is weird like that because of either a likely stock split or some other type of thing that tells the trader we're moving things around. It might even have been a purchase, something like that. So I'm going to snapshot this. It gives us almost a 50% return here on this, and it's only 1 month wide. So I really, really like it. It's perfect for us to take a peek at, and I'll show it to you right here. And then, of course, there we go. Nice and big. We can see that there. Remember, you want to put an alert on the short strikes to tell you if the position is in any trouble. And then about 10 days into expiration, if it's been sitting sideways, you cut it off and leave whatever it is there. The big, very important thing to do is not let these things grind into expiration week, because anything can happen. And I have seen my profits go poof with things that occur like that. So that is definitely a good one. Now, let's take a look a little bit at some of the trades that we have had in motion and we want to take a peek at. Did we do the Apple trade
I think we did. Yes.
earnings?
Yes, I think we did. We talked about those levels. We talked about 163. Yes, we did.
Okay, so this actually, the double diagonal or the calendar spread, is working out perfectly for us because we did the 190s, right? The 190 calls. We were short the 190 calls expiring today, and we were short the 160 puts expiring today. So both of these are going to expire worthless. But if you're looking at saying, hey, what if this thing turns around and I end up looking at something that shows the chart going to move downward, I can simply say, you know, maybe I'll just turn this into either another diagonal, or we can say, let's turn it into an iron condor. But the very nice thing is that for the May 10th one, as it expires, the change, let me see if it'll allow us to see the change in what the 190 was. This 190 call almost doubled in price this morning. So it's only 60 cents still because it's fairly far away. But if it catches a bid, it's going to look really pretty next week. The reason that the price action looks damp there is because on today's space, that 190 is still carrying. Oh, no, it isn't. It's not carrying as much value. So, hey, you know, you could pull that one off, but I would say leave it alone. Let it expire worthless. Next week, if the price action moves to the north, we've got opportunities where we can either turn the 160 into a short put spread. Let's see if it's got any. Nope, it does not have, doesn't have much premium in it there. Let's see. Nope, not very much premium at all. So we leave it alone. And then we look for the spikes that take price to where we're going. So that one is working out exactly like we want it to. We just want to let it do its thing. Let the 190s expire worthless. Let the 160s expire worthless, and go into next week looking for either another big bump or a push down into the space, and we'll take whatever the market gives us.
Okay. Okay, awesome. So real quick, I do have two questions here that I want to get out of the way. Otherwise, I'm going to forget, and we're going to leave them unanswered. I don't want to do that.
Perfect.
Excuse me. Anne-Marie, Voodoo is asking here, Anne-Marie, volume is less than 1 million on FANG. Is an iron condor a better method than a put spread? So that was that first trade that you gave, but we do have a follow-up question here on Apple.
Okay, so the iron condor actually has a put spread and a call spread. That's the definition of an iron condor. It is a short put spread and a short call spread. Yes, the chains are a little bit light. So what that affects is the distance between the bid and the ask and how much it is. Right now it's 15 to 20 cents, but that's okay. What we're expecting the chart to do is stall. And because we're expecting the chart to stall, it's going to give us exactly what we want for the short put spread. Now, you might say, well, why can't I take a long put spread? Well, because this is a very bullish chart. It's very bullish. And so if you're looking for a long put spread and you have momentum and trend both being up on the weekly chart, and you take a trade that is essentially going to be 3 weeks long, the weekly chart is telling you you might need to hang on for a minute on that sort of thing. So that's all my suggestion is there. And the question on Apple is
okay, Voodoo, let me know if that does answer your question. Comes from Gladys here. Welcome back, Anne-Marie. Can you address the butterfly on Apple based on the expected move and the potential next play? It is near or at my target. However, my expiry is I think he meant date in there. My expiry is May 17th. And 6/20, so June 20th.
Cover it as soon as it gets to that middle strike. That's what you want to do. You don't want to give it any more time. Here's why. If it's coming into the target on the strike, it could collapse, which will reduce the value of your butterfly, or it could bounce, which will reduce the value of your butterfly. And so we have two things that say, hey, it'll reduce the value of your butterfly. And the second one that says, hey, maybe it'll hold right there. And over time, the value of my butterfly will increase. So when you've got a 2-to-1, go with the 2. And so get out of that trade at the middle strike. So irrespective of time, you get out at the middle strike. Let the chart settle out for a few days, and then you can reset, because that middle strike is usually a very important line in the sand.
Okay, awesome. Super thanks. And you also answered Voodoo's question. So awesome job there, Anne-Marie. Okay, those were the two questions that I have. What else do you have for us here today?
Okay, so let's take a look at
and real quick, before we get in there, we do have an offer here. DJAF is saying, Anne-Marie, if your family is open to adoption, I'm interested in being the adoptee. Let them know. So just saying there, obviously the education that you're providing here is awesome. I love the jokes from our group here. So sorry for distracting here a little bit.
I love it.
There you go. Okay.
I love it. My kids will say, I need you to reconsider.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm a bit of a taskmaster. So let's take a look at Boeing. A lot of folks got, really when we had our butterfly we had our iron condor, and it fell out and went into the money, and we still had some time on it, and here it is coming back into a really nice space. So it is time for this iron condor to get closed, because old resistance that was support is potentially resistance again. But if it comes out and rockets, it's up, it could move again. And what's fascinating to me is we've had two Boeing whistleblowers die of suspect causes, and the stock is rising on the event. And so I have to think, holy cow, I guess they're banking on, testimony getting a little less
I know. Look,
terrible.
I saw those headlines, and I have been like, you have got to be kidding me. Like, I can't even believe it. I'm glad to see somebody else is paying attention to the same thing, but it's like, what on earth is going on out here?
It's insanity.
Oh my God.
For sure. But this one is looking in pretty good shape. Let's take a look at the couple of let's take a look at the Amazon trade. Right? What we did with Amazon is we had the put butterfly that really was looking very nice. I did not close it as it came into that 170 area, because it gapped and then started gapping up again. It missed my alerts. And so that was a great place to close this. I looked back and it was, like almost $3, which would have been even fantastic. But now we're looking at the June call butterfly. And since it is all the way in June, we're going to sit tight here just a little bit. If you're saying to yourself, is there another trade in Amazon for me right now? I would say, absolutely. And I would go back to the well that's really been paying, and that is the short iron condor. What it's doing is paying us for time in the market through these nasty sideways moves, right? And so we can look at that very, very nicely. We can pull that together, and then we can look at the McDonald's trade also. So here's what we can do as we look into, let's move this one again. As we look into June, we can say, all right, what might Amazon do? I really, look, if we take a look at this and we go, all right, all-time highs 4.8, we dipped, very strong momentum. Daily momentum, not as much, but looks pretty good. Top of the edge looks like maybe 190. So let's anticipate that 195, because of the open interest, is something really interesting to look at. Notice also the 200 is a very big space that potentially a lot of traders might have short at this juncture. So I'm going to go 195 to 200. And then on the downside, I'm going to consider that one. Yeah.
174.
Yeah. So maybe 170. Do we want to give it a little room? Maybe 170, right? Just in case the wheels come off the bus somehow in the next little bit. No, let's use 175. 175 to 170. Oopsie, that should be 190 to 195. That gives us $1.90. And that is, oops, that's not right. Oh, that's another vertical we were looking at. Let's turn that off. So this gives us 226, which is pretty nice. I think we sit sideways here for a bit. So I do like this trade. And again, we'll put that in a snapshot that Ryan and I keep an eye on. Not going to go far out in time, just a month, but we can see volatility increasing, but we can see the charts, the powerhouses. That's where we're going to look at the powerhouses. Those are the guys that are really anchoring the market in general. We're going to look there to sit in these spaces where I don't really see us heading to brand new highs. And if we head to lows, somebody's going to buy them, just like Boeing. Yep. It was messy for a couple of days. Yep. Somebody's going to buy them. All right. So we also took a McDonald's trade. And that was, we took the 250, 255, 285, 290. And the goal, we sold it last time we were together. We sold it at 124. It's now worth 95 cents. So it's coming in at about, what is that? 20% profit just in these few days. It's time that we are selling that is allowing us to hold. And you'll notice the chart is jockeying around somewhat. 250 to 255, that gives us plenty of room to the downside here, right? I think, did I set an alert here? No, let's do that. Below that 254 edge, and 285 to 290. Let's create an alert here. Crosses above. Alerts are going to keep you on the right side of your trade more often than not. It's going to look very nice and clean. And it's going to keep you from losing the bubble on what kind of position that you have. Also, as a reminder, you want to go 5 points wide or as small as the width will allow. And if you want more exposure, instead of taking it 285 to 295, just take 2 of these instead. You'll end up with a bigger credit than if you just went 85 to 95 and 55 to 45. Just a little trick there. You pay a little bit more in commission, but a fair bit more in terms of the credit that you're going to get if you decide you're going to do that. All right. Are there any questions from folks watching? Any prices for any charts that they want to have a peek at?
Nothing yet, but I will reiterate that question. If there's any stock that you folks want to take a look at, go ahead and suggest them here in the chat. We might be able to come up with something for you. Anne-Marie, the one thing I did want to say is that folks out here that are watching and enjoying this, remember, you don't have to wait for Tuesday or Friday for Anne-Marie to come on. If you are a Benzinga Pro subscriber, she is active every day with her morning and midday update, I believe. She's also giving some trades away in that chat channel too. So keep in mind, you can get this content on a daily basis. But Anne-Marie, again, I'm grateful that you come here.
I love it.
Come here on Tuesdays and Fridays, excuse me. We do have 3 suggestions here. So let's go ahead and start. We got Palantir first, ticker PLTR.
Okay, so these guys are crypto-based, security-based? What are they? I don't know.
This is a cybersecurity firm. Okay. This Palantir, they have defense contracts, and I don't know if this is going to matter to your trade at all. The CEO loves to talk about squash and short sellers. I mean, like publicly talk about it. So that's what's going on here with Palantir.
Okay, so Let's see what the chains are telling us about vol. Oh my, 100 and then 125. Obviously, next week is when earnings are going to come. Monster numbers in volatility here. So here's what's happening. If we look at, remember, here's how you find out how much they're thinking it's going to move. The stock is currently around $23. They're pricing in about $3.30 or so in the options. And so that's a 12 to 14% move, something like that, just eyeballing it right there. That's a lot of premium to position if you're looking for a big move. What the option sellers are doing is trying to cover themselves in the event this move is explosive. So what I like to do for pre-earnings moves is look to the past and see what they've done. And so price action was sideways, chart moved up, chart moved down, chart moved up. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 earnings events, very big moves, upside off the fade for the last 2. One big downside move, but it had already been up on this move to the resistance zone here. So people bought into the earnings, and then it sold off. And then people say it's sort of stagnant into the earnings and bought it up, and then sold off into the earnings and bought it up, and sold off into the earnings. Are they going to buy it up? So feels like that's the pattern. If indeed that's the pattern, then your thought might be, okay, what if, sorry about that, folks, what if it moves to the edge of what they're thinking, which is $3, right? It's 3, so it would go to 26. That's a 60-cent position event just the week of the 10th. If you want to give it more time to move, which I'm not really sure it's a grand idea, because notice earnings spike 1, 2, after 3 weeks, it moves in the opposite direction, giving back much of the gain. And you can see that here, it gives back, it recovers all of the loss. And then here, it pulls back and gives back all of the piece. So it should be a short-term trade. So if you instead want to go to May 17th or May 24th, which is a weekly option, you can look at that and go to the 26, and you can see it's 91 cents, right? Still pretty cheap. If it moves to in the money, because the volatility will probably crush a little bit, the vol might be worth, it might be worth twice that. So you could get 200% if indeed you are looking at a price pattern that the stock is going to repeat. Flip side there is take a look at how Palo Alto, who is the juggernaut, how have they behaved through their earnings space? Well, they're having some trouble after this one. It gapped way down, and it is really trying to hold. Now, I think it's going to hold just fine, and that's why I've, it fell. We played the butterfly. It fell. We collected $9. Now we're short the 280, 270, and that's going to expire worthless. So I'm delighted with that one. But what it's showing us is that the earnings have not been fantastic for these guys. So if we say, all right, maybe we follow the juggernaut, and we end up having a little bit of a fade, you might want to trade both sides of that into the May 24th area, where you would do 26, and then $3 to the downside would be 20, and it would be $1.45 right now. That is almost completely 100% everything at risk. So it's a trade that in a snap could have a 70% reduction in premium. If that feels uncomfortable to you, then sell things just underneath it and turn it into a long condor. And then that way you cut your risk in half potentially, right? But you're expecting an outsized move. And so that's the way you'll do it to give it a little bit of extra time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And Palantir's earnings, by the way, are going to be Monday after hours. So you're still going to have that Monday session after today to position for that. Okay,
Yes.
Anne-Marie, we've got less than 2 minutes left here, but the one of the other stocks that was asked about was ARM. They report earnings on Tuesday. So again, not to put you under the time crunch here, but if we can do this in about a minute, we should be good.
No problem. So here's what we're looking at. Reversion to the mean. ARM, they're the British ones, right? They're the British cyber guys. Okay, so
they're chips. ARM is chips.
Oh, that's right, chips. So this looks like it's coming into a formation, but it's underneath this momentum here on the weekly. It's underneath on the daily. It's coming into earnings. Last earnings, they've pretty much given everything back. So this looks better for a post-earnings trade than a pre-earnings trade, where we bounce and then we can take the short side like we did with Tesla, or it fades and we take the long side in the trade. I don't like positioning when a chart comes in, goes gangbusters after earnings, gives it all back into the newest earnings. It tells me that the better opportunity is under lower risk environments that can give us greater opportunities for motion.
Okay. Awesome stuff. By the way, ARM reports after market on Tuesday. So I know we have a show on Tuesday.
Yes.
Maybe we'll take a look at that again and see where we're at there. That will work. Okay. Anne-Marie, by the way, just so you're aware, the chat here, they gave you a grade for today and it was an A+ as usual. So awesome stuff here, Anne-Marie. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for all that you do. Have a great weekend and we'll see you next week.
You too. Thanks for having me, Ryan. I enjoy spending time with you and the viewers.
Every time. May the fourth be with you tomorrow, Anne-Marie. Take care, Anne-Marie. And Anne-Marie's departure leaves room for the only haircut in town. Zunaid, how are you doing here today, my man?
I am doing well. I'm excited to kind of go ahead and talk some options as well. Matter of fact, I think I forgot my overlay here in a minute. So I might need your help to stall for 60 seconds if you don't mind.
No problem. I would be happy to do that. I'm going to try and not... Oh, I see. You meant just me.
I meant just you stall. Folks. Yeah. Okay. I need like a minute or two. Sorry.
Okay. No problem. While Zunaid gets the assets set up here, I just want to thank everyone for this week and everything that we've done here. I know that these trading days can be crazy. You folks are why we do this, right? Having people join our group and covering different things every single day is why we do this. I'm really happy with the feedback that we've gotten here from the group. I will continue to try to bring on guests. I really appreciate you folks being polite and courteous to all of the guests that we bring on here. So really good stuff, and we look to continue that going forward. Now, I do want to not take as much time away as possible from Zunaid and his guest, as we're going to get back to that as soon as possible. But again, I just want to thank all of you for your support. Gladys saying, thank you, Ryan. You are definitely top tier, A triple play. I appreciate that. I would not be able to do this without you folks. Jane saying, had a profitable week trading. Thank you. That is exactly what we want to hear. We'll continue to try to focus on that. Okay, Zunaid, you all set?
Appreciate you. Yes, appreciate you,
Gotcha.
Stalin. Great job. I would give you an A+ in terms of stalling.
Well, geez, we're just throwing out A's here like Oprah throws out cards. You get an A, you get an A. I'm going to start my weekend. Take care.
I wish my college professor threw out A's to me as well. All right, we are going to go ahead and continue rocking and rolling. Let me go ahead and bring, did I put the wrong overlay? I think I did that the right one. Nope, I did not. See, this is why I need the producer, Sandra, because apparently I had your image that we had not as an overlay, or maybe here. You know what? I'm going to fix this. Let me see if I can fix this. You ready? We're going to do it live on air. See, you thought you were the only ones with tech issues.
Do you need all again?
We have them.
All again, guys?
Give me 10 seconds and I'll let you know. Nope. Look at that. Killed it. No, I don't. No, I don't.
You're
you
not
have a good day.
expecting me to do all this, are you?
No. Matter of fact, I know what happened here and we'll fix that. But anyway, welcome to the show. We'll go ahead and talk about some options. I know we had a successful trades twice that we've placed them. One was AMD, which was about maybe 3 weeks back. And then the next one was Tesla, which was about 2 weeks back. So far, so good. Let's rock the intro and we'll get options trading made simple with Sandra started.
Welcome back, traders. This is Sandra with Trading Made Simple. I'm here to show you short-term proven strategies. People think trading is a one-size-fit-all market. It's not. We live trade and train daily. Let's talk trading.
All right, let's go ahead and start talking trading. Are there any, you can share your screen if you'd like. I can, matter of fact, let me pull it up. That's on me. You've already pulled it up. What have you been trading? It's Friday. What have you been rocking with this week? And then we'll take a look at how to play some earnings next week.
Yeah, ended up taking this partial gap fill this morning on SPY. We actually took the initial breakout here. It's actually looking good for a nice retest here and coming back up. I'm looking for a break above that 510.18 level here. We're getting close. I think we just did it for a call entry. Got our stop loss here at 509.20. So this looks good for an intraday 5-minute trade. These lotto contracts, though, be careful. If this ends up taking its time and not having a lot of volume behind it, those contracts could burn up. So sometimes it's good to take maybe a Monday contract if you don't like those hot lotto contracts. How about you? What are you looking at today?
Well, so for me, let me go ahead and share my charts here for a minute. I was actually just kind of simply focusing on the NQ, right? I haven't really taken a look at any options whatsoever. We had our block that we had blocked out on our charts and it worked out very well. As you can see, it ended up bouncing right from there. And so movement quite a bit right into the levels that we've kind of peaked out. So for me, haven't really got a chance to play a lot of options simply just because, working full time and stuff, it gets a little tough. That's one of the downsides. However, coming back to AMD, something that we traded a while back and had success with it, the 150 level continues to be a resistance area here. And we'll see if we're able, you obviously got a couple of spikes up in that because of the earnings, but I'm kind of focused on, hey, do we go ahead and crack above 150? If we do, then maybe we can get a little bit more traction to the upside. But that's kind of what I'm focused on is AMD above 150 if we can go ahead and nail it. And then, of course, you also have Reddit that's going to go ahead and report, I believe, sometime next week. Their first report on May 7th on Tuesday as a publicly traded company. So that should be fun. That should be exciting. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Haven't really placed any trades, haven't really done anything. Then we can kind of check out Meta here as well. You can see we've got a gap fill opportunity. How would you play this? Let me ask you that. So here's a daily, right? They report earnings, scoop to the bottom. Now we go ahead and start to recover those losses, but we're still ways away. We're about, 30 points or so. How are you playing this one, if at all?
Actually played it this morning. So Meta above 450 was our level. We took it for a day trade. And now really looking for a continuation. So let me pull up my chart for Meta. Let's take a look at that. So as I look at Meta, if it really on a, let's take a look at a 4-hour chart here for something a little bit more long distance. You can see that the momentum here is rising. And, that 20, I like to use that 20 as a reversion to the mean. And so we're right up there at resistance for a longer swing trade. Really needs to stay above 450. I like the risk versus reward here. So you could take a trade. You can automate your stop loss, saying, "Hey, look, I'm going to give it to 450. If it breaks below 450, it's not going to have a continuation. If it stays above it, it will continue." Because on a shorter time frame, it looks like it may be getting momentum to possibly stay above that consolidation zone here. And that's really what I was looking at, was that consolidation. And you could see that 450, 52. I got in at 450. It went up, a couple dollars before I got out. And now it's having a great day. It's plus 9 points. So if it could stay above this level, I think we see a recovery, and we have this huge gap that needs to be filled from last week. So this could be a nice opportunity. If nothing else, we could easily see 457.37 as we move up to a 50% gap fill to 467. I think this has a lot of potential. And right here, you could actually automate your trade, and with risk defined, as 450 as your loss, as an example, you could take a debit spread if you didn't like that loss amount on your risk, and give this some time to work out, like a week or two, as an example.
And so you were in the trade as a day trade, but you are not currently in as a swing trade. Is that correct?
Right. And I think probably this afternoon, we could actually get into it right now. Let's do that.
Awesome.
Okay.
And
So
this could be something we write an article about. Look at that. Done deal.
Oh, okay. Okay. So this is looking good, right? Everything above 450. Does anybody want to know how to automate this, by the way, on Thinkorswim? I'm huge on automation. I teach automation. So not sure if you have many traders out there that like to learn about automation. But simply spoken, if we were going to automate this trade, we could go to the trade tab here on Meta. Let's take, let's see, we have 27 points. Let's do, next week is 15 points. Let's just do weekly, because we seem to, come back together, and we discuss this trade, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to go down to a vertical here. I'm going to just take an easy at the money. I'm going to say, you know what? I'll take a buy custom with an OCO bracket. So now I have my buy order, and I have my sell order to take profit. And I also have a sell order here for a stop loss. So here we can just go ahead and get into this. This was actually a call and not a, we could do it on a call, but I said a debit spread. What do you prefer? Do you prefer?
I think we try to see if we can fill the gap. So I'm going to go with a call side of
You
things.
want to do the call? Okay, let me bring it back up then. All right. Let's do the call here for a week out. And our stop loss right here is going to be at 450. So can you see this order rules form right here? I just want to make sure that, oh, good. Everything's working on my computer.
Yeah. Everything's nice and easy.
You know what? I ended up getting a new computer. That's why. So
there you go.
That's what I needed, was like more horsepower.
Yeah.
All right. So our stop loss is going to be less than, right? We're going to come over here and say 450. Now you'll notice as I go through this here that all I had to do was just hover my mouse. And when I hover my mouse, you can actually see the box. Thinkorswim's great for hiding all the boxes and hiding all the things that you need to get to. But once you know it, then it's easy. So you just hover and click on it, and it'll fill it in. We want to keep this as mark. The triggers are less than or equal to and greater than or equal to. And if you have a problem with those triggers until you get those memorized, they're right here, less than or equal to. We put in the stock price as 450. Now we come up here, which is the option area of the order form. And we want to say, okay, do we know what the option price is going to be when it hits 450? And we do not.
Right.
So because of that, what we want to do is just say we could put in a limit order, which is a stop here. Or we could actually use a limit and put a good till cancel. And then say, hey, sell this. Let's do, how would we do this here? Let's do, Yeah, well, we already have it programmed here. So we'll do just 0, 0. So basically what this is saying is, hey, I'm going to sell the bid, which is being an aggressive seller.
Wait, is
When it-
there? Sorry, hold on.
Sure.
Maybe I was wrong.
Okay.
What screen are you wanting to share? Maybe I am wrong.
Oh, it's in order rules. It's
Scroll down, maybe.
oh, so you
So
don't
here's
see
what we
it.
see. We see the order book is the last thing we see on
I
your
see
screen.
this. I see this. So you don't see the actual.
I was wrong.
No, that's okay. I'm glad you told me. So let's get out of that. Let me
Appreciate that
see.
comment.
Can I do that from my side or is that from your side? That's
It's
interesting.
from your. So are you wanting to share like the Thinkorswim platform, or what are you sharing?
There's
'Cause I see the
actually a
platform.
special. I see. I think I understand what I need to do here. So let me bring up this order form. And then let me do this. See, there's always something, but that's okay. I'm learning. I'm
Yeah.
learning about this.
Well,
here.
as you place a trade, we can go ahead and take a look at it.
If I say present, share screen. Here it is. Oh, it's too bad I have to do it separately. Okay. So this is the order form that you see on Thinkorswim.
Yeah.
And so on this, what type of profit are you looking at? I don't want to go back and forth because I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up.
No, I would say in terms of percentages, let's go with 25% risk, 25%
well,
gains, or something. Yeah, something
That's
around those.
easy. Oh, okay. Then you don't even need that for the you don't even need that for that
Okay.
screen. I'm sorry. I was doing some advanced automation.
No,
there.
you're good.
Let me bring this back up. Okay. So if you just wanted to say, well, you know what? Let's just do it this way. Let's say you want to get into a call. We're just going to go ahead and get into it. And then that was 7 days out.
Yep.
And we could go back to our monitor tab. And then we could say, okay, create a closing order. And this is what most people do because they don't have enough patience to actually get both of the orders in there. So that's
Yeah.
okay. So we're going to create a duplicate. So now we have 2 sell orders here for this.
Yeah.
And so, so unfortunately, it looks like on this screen, I might have to go in here to do that trigger of the 25%. Let me see if it lets me. This is interesting. For some reason, it's not letting me do the percentages on here. I might have to see why that is, but
that's all right. So we got into the meta side of things. All right. So what was the call that you had taken? It looks like it's the May 10th, 250.
450 call.
Sorry. Yes. Okay. Got it. Awesome. And then now where would your stop loss be like on your chart though?
Oh, okay. So let's take a look at that. It's too bad. Every time I want to do something special on here, I always get diverted. Hopefully within a couple sessions, I'll get that all worked out.
Yeah.
So I think that we can actually, our first target, we could actually look at 450, 581. If we were to look at like let's take a look for a smaller chart here just to see where we're at. Yeah, so I'd really like to hold, you could see why I like that 450 area, right? So you could see that that's our actual last pivot high. So that's what that green little dash line is just showing my last pivot high. So would love to hold that 450 area. If we can hold that 450 area, I can easily see us come right back up into this channel, which is around the, 460 area. And if we want to go to an hourly chart, you could see that 455, 461. And these are by the way, these are just ATR values.
Yeah.
So ATR values on a 1 hour, right? So not making this too difficult. It's just on a 1 standard.
Yeah.
So, we're just using average ATR values for this. And you can see where the gap is from last week. And 50% of that gap is probably around that 467 area. So that's perfect.
Yeah. And do you like to play like gap fills typically, or
I do.
Not all the way there?
I do. No, I do. I do it on a daily basis as well when I day trade.
Yeah.
I like to, if I can see that gap and I can see that we're actually breaking the threshold, because the gaps act as support and resistance. So we have actual resistance here, which we broke through today. That's what, is creating a nice trade entry here. We have the 20 EMA that's curving up. I once learned about 20 years ago this funny way to read your reversion to the mean. If it is an average, kind of like VWAP or an EMA, if it's starting to smile, then it's bullish, and if it starts to frown, then it's bearish. So
Nice. Okay, that makes sense.
you know what? I've kept it, and I still teach that. So you could see that we're looking as if we're going to create a nice big smile,
Yeah.
and so that's what I'm looking for. But just because we're in, on the mends of creating a gap fill doesn't necessarily mean that we have to fill the entire gap. And so typically speaking, you could see where this indicator, this gap fill indicator that I have actually creates like certain levels of the gap fill. And oftentimes we'll do a gap fill and then we have to retrace, come down and make sure that we have support before we go back up. So as of right now, I mean, we have support here at 445. 450 was a level to break. We just broke that. And so we kind of want to see us get to the 456, 457 level. Then we could get to halfway. Now that it just doesn't mean, a lot of people think, well, once we're in a gap, we have to fill the entire gap. And that's not necessarily true. It could take a while. And so sometimes using different vehicles like a debit spread or an at the money credit spread or an out of the money credit spread can help you during times of consolidation as, price is ebbing and flowing in a certain zone.
All right. That makes perfect sense to me. We'll keep an eye on that one. We'll kind of, review it and see how it kind of moves along next week when we hop back on Friday. I mentioned, you have Reddit that's reporting next week. You have ARM that's reporting next week. You have Palantir that's reporting next week as well, along with Airbnb. Any tickers there that you are interested in to kind of have a trade for earnings?
I'm not a fan of any of those, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I kind of like the mega caps and I kind of stay within that kind of field. ARM is one that one of our traders in our Discord loves to trade. Let's take a look at ARM really quick. And so, I'd really like to, you can see on the chart here, we have the last pivot high, which is acting as resistance right here. But because this is an earnings event, it's kind of like a lotto. Now, on either of these, we did a lotto, I think, on Tesla. So let's see, when does ARM report? On 5/8. So we still have plenty of time. Looking back prior to ARM's last earnings, you could see that it just consolidated for a really long time, had a nice pop. But after that pop, look at the drop. So, you can kind of like look in the past and say, well, even though past performance is not indicative of, what future price action is going to do, it can kind of give you like, a way of playing a strategy. So, you could do the same thing here and actually take, as an example, an out of the money call as a lotto for this event. And it'll be real cheap to get into. In fact, let's take a look at that. So this is 5/8.
Yeah. You've also got like the $100 psychological level there that obviously with terms of earnings, who really cares when you're that close. However, if you were trying to play an earnings run up, right, to maybe like the 110 level by the time to report on Wednesday afternoon, that could be one area for us to kind of finagle with as well.
Yeah, and I'm just liking on the 4-hour chart, we're just breaking above my reversion to the mean, which is the 20 EMA. And so I kind of like that. And that 20 EMA acts as like, okay, if you were just to like, boom, look at that chart and you got a little bit nervous about consolidation and not knowing where you really thought this could become really bullish. As far as I'm concerned, when we're above that 20, that's starting to change trend for me. And so it's an easy identifier to say, oh, we might be changing trend. Now, could we still have some consolidation? The answer is yes. And so, so with that in mind, as long as we keep above this level of, let's say 102, where are we at right now? Great. So as long as we stay above that 102 area, then I can see this continuing bullish. And then we have some resistance here. And this is the last pivot low before we broke it to go down. So that is going to act as a resistance, just like today, this 20 acted like resistance, but we broke through it. So our next level here would be 121. Let's just say 121 for resistance. Since it's a zone, it's not like, this specific line. So that's how I would look at this and say, I could get into a call here as a run up, knowing that at about 121, we come into some resistance.
All right. That's going to be the idea on ARM. We've got about, 10 minutes or so.
I'm going to take, where is let's see, 5.8. That's still in next week's wheelhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. What did I say? A 120 call? How much would that be? So this is kind of like a, it's just one of those, and you could put this as a debit spread, by the way. If you didn't like the price of this 120 call being at $108, let's see if that's 108. It is. If you wanted to do a debit spread and say, hey, I think this runs up to, let's see, 120. Let's do 119, 120. Oh my, are you kidding me? 13 cents. And what is that going to yield us? So $13 to yield us $87. Is anybody interested in that risk versus reward?
I will go ahead and do that with you. So here, let me go ahead and mark, what is it? We talked about this at 4:33. All right. So ARM trade, right? Let me go and kind of place this myself. We were looking at the May 10th call. Is a vertical that we're hoping to do here, right?
Exactly. And so it's just a call debit spread, and it's cheap.
And it's
right,
1920. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. 1920. And we're basically looking for a pop, right? Like last time. And we're going to play this, very inexpensively. And you have your risk versus reward. If you click on the confirmation, you can see that it says your max loss is $13 and your max profit is $87. And so we're looking to get something above 13. Maybe if I can get 50 to 75% of that, I'm happy with that.
I'm sorry. Where did you say you see the max loss and profit? Where was that?
Oh, let me share my. Let's do
Your
that.
other
I'll
screen?
figure that out next time.
No,
But
you're
let
good.
me share this other screen. Present.
You're good. And while you're doing that, I can go ahead and so I was looking at Meta, but we can go back to ARM because I am going to place this trade and see if we can have some profit coming into it. Share the 4 hours. Let me know when your other screen is up. Got a little bit of resistance on that side. And then see if we can make it to about the 116s or so. Just as I'm going to put your screen back up. All right.
Yeah. So when you hit this confirmation button one time, you'll see where it says max profit is $87 and your max loss here is $13. So that really gives you confidence to get into this trade without, stressing out about what and whenever you buy options, what you're paying for the option is your risk amount.
Now, obviously the odds are great. How can we find out the expected time it'll hit, right? The percentage times that it will go ahead and kind of be in the profit area. I know sometimes you have like that chart that you share, which
the analyze graph.
That could be kind of interesting because obviously the odds are awesome, right? It's like a 1 to 7, give or take, but the percentage of times that the trade will be profitable obviously will dictate.
Totally.
Go ahead.
You can see that this is where we are right here. And this is, the one standard deviation. And so you can see
your charts aren't shared. Sorry. Your platform.
Oh boy. I got to get better at that. All right.
That's all right.
Slowly but surely I will get there.
You're fine.
Let's see where that chart's at. There we go. All right.
So
if you go to your analyze graph on Thinkorswim, you can, see what the trade looks like. And so because this is a debit spread, we're looking at price to basically cross this line, the 119.20 line. And so, but as it moves, you can look right over here to the theoretical calendar, the dates, as well as, your risk amount. I bought 2, so my risk is $26. And you can see that if we move up, then you start to make profit, even though you're not like in this zone yet.
Yeah.
But you could see where you really start making the money is if we pass that 120 area, then you really can start seeing those major profits. And that's what we're in this, by the way, this trade is for a big pop. Now, the reason the risk versus reward is so wonderful on the reward side is because it's way out of the money.
Yeah.
So because, our target is like way over there, the computer's like, she's got what, a 17% chance of this happening.
Yeah.
But what the computer's not thinking about in pricing is that earnings is around the corner and it's 2 days before this expires. And we just may get that pop because we got the pop last time. So this is a cheap way that you can get into an earnings trade.
Got it. Now, of course, the contracts themselves, you have traders that understand what you're saying. The analysis of the computer may not be able to calculate, hey, what that may be there. Any final thoughts from you in terms of any other trades that you're kind of taking a look at?
With these earnings that come into play, an easy one as well would be just, looking at the Qs and seeing what the Qs look like. If you didn't want to play any specific earnings, but you actually would like to play the ETFs, I often trade the QQQs and SPY. So I really like looking at here, and I think we have a great setup for a continuation of a bullish trend on the Qs. We do have earnings coming up. And so with that, maybe a run up. And today, maybe the first day seeing that run up with the positive numbers this morning at 8:30. So as we look at this, you could see that we're in a consolidation zone. We've broken above that 20. We're starting to get a little smile here. If we can continue and stay above this 432, let's just say 432.50 zone, I think that we have a really good chance of coming back up here to the last pivot high. So these are not like, secret sauce levels. This is the last pivot low. This is the last pivot high. And what are we doing now? Well, we're back into this last trading range. And so we're really sitting at support here in this trading range on a 4-hour chart, meaning that this is a swing trade, right? So this looks good for a continuation for next week. Now, if we break below, so your risk versus reward is perfect at this level. If we break below this level, then you got to cut the trade.
All right. Well, I mean, it's always great to kind of get insights. And you mentioned about the secret sauce, and not a lot of people have the secret sauce, right? I would say like your even hedge funds. I don't even know. They all have their little remixes of things, but so much of trading is just kind of like a psychological side of like, hey, if you believe you have an edge, right? Kind of like you talked about where, hey, we have earnings coming up with ARM. It may not be exactly priced in the way that you believe it should be. Those are the few percentage points where you want to get an edge, right? And I don't know if folks out there are sports bettors or not, or the casino, whatever it is. It's like the reason the house wins is because of those 2% edges over a long, long period of time. So you just got to find a little bit of edge in the markets. But any tips and tricks before we go? Anything you've learned this week from trading?
Yes. I jokingly talk about secret sauce because everybody thinks they have the secret sauce or they promote a secret sauce. The secret sauce here, when I got onto Twitter and was kind of looking to connect with other traders is that this isn't secret sauce. I mean, this is options 101. And I think once you start developing your own pattern, that repeatable system, the way that you look at charts, the way you're looking at levels and you're respecting those levels, it really makes trading simple and easy. And so you don't have to stress out about it. I often tell people I don't recommend trading a 1 minute or a 3 minute unless you're scalping. But really it's about a 5-minute chart and trying to get a good ride, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can get a nice trade that's 3-4 candles on a 5 minute, I mean, you're making several $100s within minutes.
Yeah.
That's a great ride. Time to turn off the computers and come back tomorrow. It's when you sit at your computer constantly and you're like, wait a minute, I just made a couple $100. I want to make more. Then you get yourself in trouble. You give it back. And so it really is about self-discipline, keeping a repeatable system and learning new things because the market's ever changing. And, it's kind of fun to do that. So I see the questions now. I'm getting more familiarized with the platform here. So this time around, I'll be able to answer some of your questions as well. Yeah, well, we can set aside like a 5 minutes at the end of the show next week to kind of go ahead into the Q&A. But thank you once again for coming on. Appreciate it. We can touch base about maybe getting an article about ARM or Meta since we took those trades and hopefully get it published before earnings. Thank you so much for your time, Sandra. All right. See you next week, guys. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Take care. And thank you, chat, for always hanging out with us. We appreciate it. And, we talk about trading. We talk about the things that are happening in the markets, but it's also nice to go ahead and talk to executives from publicly traded companies themselves and kind of see what insights we can get from them. And of course, we've got a great interview coming up here. It's going to be with Aqua Metals. We're going to talk to Steve Cotton, who's the president and CEO. Ticker on the NASDAQ is AQMS. All Access starts right now. Steve, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, you bet. A lot of interesting things for us to talk about. But before we look under the hood, give the viewers a quick overview of what is it that your company does.
Yeah, so Aqua Metals has developed a way to use a decarbonized method to recycle lithium-ion batteries. And it's really unique because it's waste-free, decarbonized, and has really favorable economics. And we're right here in Tahoe, Reno area, and have developed our first plant, which we're turning on at a commercial grade just later this year after running a pilot plant for over a year.
Now, I was in college a while back, and I remember recycling was something that, I mean, maybe call it new, but something that was kind of really ramping up, and obviously still a very important thing to take care of Mother Nature here. How does your metal recycling process improve upon like the traditional methods that may have been used to when I was in college? Is it more safer? Is it more sustainable? And is it more efficient?
Yeah, so what there was when you were in college probably dates back to the Bronze Age, which is called smelting. And that is really high temperature, 3,000 degree furnaces, brute force technique to grab these minerals to the extent possible. The challenge with lithium battery smelting is that lithium is such a light and airy element, let's say, it gets volatilized and burned and put into the atmosphere, along with a bunch of CO2. And so that is really not a sustainable way to recycle lithium-ion batteries because you're not even really a lithium recycler. You might be claiming some fractional nickel and cobalt through that process, but that's about it. Then along came hydro, which is hydrometallurgies from the mining era. Mm-hmm. And that's where you take one-time use chemicals and you leach those chemicals through ground up batteries. That's called black mass, which is the amalgam of lithium, nickel, and cobalt. And the challenges there is you create CO2 molecules and you create a bunch of sodium sulfate waste stream, which is, both of which are at or higher than the weight of the process that's the materials that's being recycled to begin with. And so that's not really a sustainable method either. So what we developed was a way to use electricity and renewable electricity to regenerate the chemicals. So it kind of borrows from some of the hydro techniques, but uses regenerative electrohydrometallurgy to make sure that we don't have the CO2 and that we don't have the sodium sulfate and all the costs, not only environmentally, but financially associated with that.
It's amazing how much goes into something like recycling because we think, hey, you just put it in a trash can that's separate and then that's about it. No, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, obviously. When I was looking up some things for this interview, this kind of stood out. Circular supply chain. I've never heard of that term. What is it and how have you kind of achieved it?
Yeah, so the true circularity is when you make stuff, use it, and then put it back into that whole ecosystem over and over and over again, infinitely. Recycling leads up to true circularity. And to have true circularity, you have to do that in a way that is tied to the industry, but also doesn't have all those environmental impacts. And so when we're talking about circularity and the circular economy, what that really means is a clean and sustainable way to continuously reuse these products over and over and over again. And recycling is really the backbone of circularity. And we talk a lot about electrification of transportation like EVs or energy storage systems for solar and wind and all that. But if you don't have that circularity that brings all those minerals that we dug out of the earth once, and hopefully only once, then you really haven't achieved that term of circularity.
What impacts does it have, especially the methods, which you just mentioned earlier in the show, and everything else you're doing in the company, have on the lithium ion space in general?
So the lithium ion space is certainly growing at a great rate, and the recycled content of lithium ion batteries today, interestingly, is quite low. and that is around 1%. So most of the lithium-ion batteries to date have ended up, unfortunately, in the landfill and not part of circularity. And so that's what the recycling efforts really are all about, is to get that to a high percent. If you look at the lead acid battery industry, kind of the precedent battery, which is still a growing industry, and if you compare the circularity that's there, it's about 90%. So you go buy a lead battery, 90% of it's going to have the metals from prior lead batteries that were recycled over and over and over again. And that's where we're taking the lithium industry to, as we stand up this industry and grow it with truly sustainable recycling. So it's that important.
All right. And then we talked about the processes of it. I want to talk about the money aspect, which I know viewers love to kind of get some insight on.
Sure.
What do you kind of see changing in the year to come, right? I believe you had a net loss of close to about 24 million in 2023. What can we expect in terms of changing and entering the revenue phase? What's ahead?
Yeah, so we've been doing the heavy lift we've gone through feasibility study, lab scale, bench scale. We built our pilot operations in Tahoe Reno Industrial Center and successfully scaled and operated that for 24 hours a day, 5 days a week for a year. And now we're in the midst of building what we call the Sierra Arc, which is our first commercial facility, which will turn on later this year, and it will begin producing revenues. And that Sierra Arc will produce enough materials for about 30,000 EV battery packs, average size, worth of critical battery minerals. So it's not a small facility. It's not gigantic, but it's at the right step of scale. That'll ultimately scale further in a couple of years, but the revenues will actually start commencing as we get into the end of this year and the beginning of next year, as we get the first truckloads of nickel and lithium and then cobalt off of those machines and that we're putting into that facility. So it's right around the corner, just a matter of months away. Very exciting time for us.
And then let's talk about you have the critical minerals that kind of come into it, right? Where you have them ready available to fully serve the global energy transition. Without advanced processes like yours, are there enough critical minerals out there to have a global energy transition?
There is always going to be supply-demand tension points. And interestingly, the metals markets have seen a little bit of a pullback in the prices of metals of late. But now I think we've seen the bottom, and we've seen some nickel and lithium prices start to go up again. And that supply-demand tension right now is only between mining and the market. And as we add recycling, we think that that's going to be able to help propel and get that 0% to 1% of recycled content up, and then also feed into that market growth, because that's where we need to ultimately get. So recycling is going to be a key and critical part of this really quickly growing need for all these minerals. And by the way, we are the only producer, we believe, that's going to be at a commercial level that's like mining nickel. We happen to be urban mining in North America, as well as lithium in a sustainable way. So that's really an important aspect of it as well, is that you have to look at it as urban mining and remining that supplements that earth mining.
Got it. Now, look, we've talked about the past, we talked about the present, we talked about money as well. Any other final thoughts for me before we let you go?
Well, just keep an eye on us. It's a really exciting time. You can go to the Aqua Metals website and click on the media tab, and you can see updates of what our Sierra Arc looks like, the progress that's been made. And as we turn that on, we've got a lot of information that's going to be posted up there, and it's a great resource. And literally by the week, by the month, this is where we're really getting to the point of turning things on and getting into that revenue. Really exciting time.
Well, I look forward to having more conversations when you make those milestones public. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You got it. That is Steve Cotton, who is the president and CEO of Aqua Metals. Ticker on the NASDAQ is AQMS. All right, chat. We are going to go ahead and have another great conversation coming up here. A lot of you have been in the chat asking about this conversation, so we're happy to go ahead and bring it to you. We're going to have our guest, but we're going to have a special guest as well. We have Shane, who is the chairman and CEO of Singulate Therapeutics. The ticker on the NASDAQ is CING, but then we've also got a special guest with them. Won't tell you just yet, but let's go ahead and bring on Shane and Peter. Thank you so much to both of you for joining the show.
How you doing? Good to see you again.
I am jealous because I don't think that's a virtual background. You are actually outside. Is that correct?
That's a real background.
It actually is. It's actually a true background, and I'm really happy to be here with one of the leading financier of Singular Therapeutics, Peter Worth.
Well, I am jealous because in the back I've got like an electric drum kit. You've got a lot cooler things happening, but let's go ahead and introduce, right? We've got Shane, Chairman, CEO of Singular Therapeutics. We've also got Peter, who is a board member and also Singulate's largest shareholder, right? So you're putting money where your mouth is. I'm going to hear from you here in just a second, Peter. But Shane, give us a quick brief overview for the folks at home that might not be familiar. What is it that your company does?
Sure. So Singulate's actually in a very interesting phase of our company's overall life cycle. We have a delivery technology called the PTR platform, which allows us the ability to really optimize patient therapy. That's really what it comes down to. Make patients' lives better. And we have two assets in ADHD, a third one in anxiety, and a platform of other therapeutic products that we're going to bring to the market over the next several years. Our lead asset, CTX 1301, is for the treatment of ADHD. We're preparing the new drug application to the FDA as we speak. So we're really excited about bringing these new therapies to the marketplace. Major market opportunities. Singulate is a very exciting company, but more importantly, I'm so happy to be here with Peter, a guy that has not only validated dozens of companies himself over his career, but is someone that really understands what Singulate is doing and why we're doing it.
Well, let's hear from Peter. Peter, you're putting money where your mouth is, right? You've had a solid, great, amazing career as an investor, entrepreneur, philanthropist. Give us a quick background on you before we dive into what you see in Singulate.
Well, I've done a bunch of things, but the thing I'm probably most famous for is opening up China in 1980s, and me and our German Secretary of State were wandered around there for about 3 years before most people knew there were problems, how to do anything or getting done.
Yeah.
And we were able to get FDA approval for, I think, 18 of the first 20 factories that got FDA approved in China. And we built a big office there, but we learned a lot of things. They didn't do their analytical to the FDA standard, so we had to build a lab. Their compliance in terms of with safety and all those things.
So you're talking to the guy that cracked the Chinese market for pharmaceuticals, which is pretty cool.
When you hear FDA and you hear China, those are two words that are not often spoken in this type of space. I'm glad to have someone who's able to do that, has done that. What do you look for when you're investing in a company, Peter, right? There has to be some type of potential, but what are you looking for in terms of like, it's got to have 1, 2, 3, and I think it's a moneymaker?
Well, I like the term angel investor. I've been one of the first to invest in, and I specialize basically in something I know, pharmaceuticals. So I don't know anything about roller skates, and I don't know anything about a lot of other things, but I got a pretty good handle on the pharmaceutical industry. And specifically, I thought with doing a little homework, and by the way, we're both from Hays, Kansas, even though he was in Kansas City when I met him and I was in Connecticut.
And by the way, Hays, Kansas is a tourist destination for all you out there.
If it's got a view like in the back or anything similar to it, I believe.
We actually met through colleagues that both knew that I'm in pharmaceuticals. Peter's a legend in pharmaceuticals. That's how we actually met, was through that connection through Hays, Kansas. But go ahead.
Yeah. I said I'd like to be an angel investor, and so over the years, I think it's probably about 15 companies now that we've been the initial investor in, and so far we got one teetering really bad.
That's not us.
It's not. Yeah, it's detecting concussions. And I think the thing that is important when you look at angel investing or any investing is basically the horse and the jockey.
Yeah.
When you're betting on a product and a company, you want a really good jockey. The horse can't do it.
Yeah. Well, so let me
really
ask you. Let me ask you this: when it comes to Singulate, right? What kind of keeps you? What attracted you to Singulate? What are you hoping we can accomplish with this company here? What keeps you passionate about it?
Well, the thing is, they got perfect treatment for ADHD, and that's an $18 billion market, and there's nothing out there. They got drugs out there now that kill on the average 48 to 50,000 women a year. It's just it's something that the FDA actually should put on a high priority to get on the market, just for the fact that save how many lives it could save.
Yeah.
So this is
Peter's referencing a recent topic where there are so many females that are misdiagnosed or not diagnosed with ADHD. And our therapy, our product, not only can treat the entire spectrum of the ADHD patient population, but the women's particularly, that women female group is so underdiagnosed and misdiagnosed, and we have that opportunity.
Well, what's on the
then they get hooked on the drug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Shane, give us some insight on what's on the horizon, right? A lot of folks have been expecting you to come on this interview. I know there are things that they want to talk about and hear from you. What's on the horizon that we can expect from your company?
Yeah, I know the market is very excited about some of the potential future news, and we're really looking forward to sharing it. I think the biggest things that Singulate has to tell the street right now is this: number one, our phase 3 program is pretty much complete. We're very excited about the fact that we are no longer enrolling patients in our phase 3 trials. And that's not for any downside reason. It's because we've had great communication with the FDA, and we're looking at what those, we're evaluating exactly how we can progress to get our product to the market as fast as possible. We're in a very good position in terms of capital. That said, we're always looking to make sure the stock is growing in the right direction, which is we've had a couple of nice days over the last couple of weeks. Also, we are open to licensing. We have our entire commercialization strategy built with Indogene. At the same time, we have multiple partners in the United States today that are asking us, hey, can we get a piece of the Singulate business? And that really bodes extremely well for the fact that this is it's an $18 billion stimulant market, a $23 billion market in its entirety. And through the phase 3 data that we've already demonstrated, Singulate is showing that we have the first product that can provide entire active day efficacy for the first time in 75 years. So we're really excited about the assets, the platform, and the future news coming out.
And they get away with that last dosage that everybody takes, and that's the one that can be abused.
That's the booster dose, Peter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the safety part of it. It just is. That alone, the FDA should be jumping up and down.
The FDA has been a great group to speak to throughout the period of time that we've had with them. That booster dose, as Peter mentioned, is so critical. 60% of patients every day are reaching in their pocket, going to a nurse's office, or missing a critical dose in their ADHD regimen.
Now, I mean, I want to ask you one last question. I know you said there are things that you guys are working on. I understand you're a publicly traded company. There's some things you can mention, some things you can't. However, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask this question from the chat, talking about new drugs and filing for that. I think you may have hinted at a little bit of information there. Are we still planning on having that be filed at the first half of 2024, or any insights that you can provide to the viewers?
You're talking about our current asset? So actually, I'll answer the question, and this is not MMP. Number one, we're filing CTX 1301's NDA in the first half of next year at the latest. We really, to Peter's point too, Peter also has some very nice contacts at the FDA. We really have an opportunity to get this product to market where there is a public health crisis. Secondly, CTX 1302, we want to start the development of that in the first half of next year. And then CTX 2103, which is the anxiety medication. This is a product that, I mean, frankly, everyone in the psychiatric and primary care field is so excited about. It's our buspirone asset, which delivers 2 to 3 doses in one simple tablet versus the 2 to 3 doses that patients are asked to take. We'll be initiating our IND work probably in the first half of next year. That's our plan. It all comes down to capital. So my friends, take a look at Singular.
Hey, I mean, yeah, it takes money to make money. No question about that. Right. Before I let you go, any final thoughts? I know you and I are going to talk a little bit here off air in a minute, but any final thoughts to our viewers about what's happening with the company, what's to come? I know you mentioned CTX 1301. Anything else you want to talk about?
The company's in really strong shape, but I'd love for Peter to wrap this up and sort of express why he likes Singular.
Well, I think we kind of mentioned it. We also have the technology to develop a series of drugs that are dosed either once, twice, or 3 times a day. And down the road, that probably will be more of the legacy for Singulet than the first drug.
I think that's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
10 years from now, people will not be going Singulet. Oh, the ADHD company? No, they'll be going Singulet, the pharmaceutical company with multiple assets.
So
thank you, Peter. That's awesome.
Yeah, very good. And I think we got the science, we got the people to do it, to get it done. So
now one person you're missing here is Roger.
Oh,
have you met Roger?
I haven't. You want to give me a quick intro before we outro? Feel free to.
In our prior conversations, you've met Roscoe.
Yeah, I have.
He's the guy walking in my office. This is Roger here in Scottsdale. Yeah. But
well, I'm happy to have the whole family.
For you guys, and what a pleasure it's been for me to come down to Scottsdale and visit Peter, and truly one of the legends in the industry. Yeah.
Well, hey, I feel like next time you can invite me and we can do this interview in person. But thank you all so much for your time. I appreciate it. We'll have more conversations in the future, I'm sure.
Look forward to seeing you in the future. Take care.
Absolutely. You bet. That is Shane, who's the chairman and CEO of Singulet Therapeutics. Ticker on the NASDAQ is CING. And of course, we had a special guest in Peter, who is a board member and also Singulet's largest shareholder. And we thank you for watching All Access.